It is said that Tuesday is often the most productive day of the week. Well, we hope that you're off to a very productive Tuesday. Unfortunately, we'll be starting with news that some would refer to as not so productive as we bring you the updates from the protests that happened in the Federal Capital Territory yesterday. My name is Olive Emodi, and you're welcome to Breakfast Central.
And I'm Benga Borough. Welcome to a very productive Breakfast Central on Tuesday. Yes, we have quite a lot, not in store for you, but for you this morning. So sit back, relax, grab your cup of coffee, and let's take you on a ride.
Benga, you were up yesterday with Tolu, and you guys were covering the hashtag Free Nnamdi Kanu, and also not forgetting to the October 2020.
You know, when we finished that broadcast, I had to go and check the internet for records to see if I've broken any Guinness World Records for the longest broadcast hours on air. My bum was penning me. It was a lot on my mouth.
I was happy.
Thank God that when God created human beings, because we broadcasters would have been mute by now, especially Olive. Any smutting content, our megabytes would have finished. Imagine if God gave us 2 terabytes of talking. Right? 2 terabytes. We wouldn't just be wasting it.
From your brain saying, you have 2 megabytes remaining.
Olive would have finished like 6 years ago.
So this is a good joke, though. I think I need to write this down. Nice one, Benga. This is a good one. Because at the end of the day, it means that if you have 1 megabyte remaining and then we have a guest, like Shiwari, and you have a question to ask, they say it's your turn, you do.
I know the good thing there, everyone will now learn ASL. By the time we all learn how to use sign language, once you've run out of voice, then you have to use sign language. Yeah. Anyway,
okay, that's a good one.
Joe, good to have you on here.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You look lovely, by the way.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I dedicate that compliment.
Tell me where else you could find beautiful faces that grace your TV screens every morning.
Something palatable, delightful to wake up to.
Yes, I completely agree. Definitely a sight for sore eyes. Now we've started on a soft note because we're again going to go into a sad note, and we thought as usual that it is easier to not just start with that doom and gloom, but unfortunately we can't shy away from the reality that it is. Yesterday we told you about the October 2020 protest that happened 5 years ago. And in reaction to these protests, 5 years later, it of course has changed the trajectory of how protests and governance is done in Nigeria. Unfortunately, year in, year out, we've seen an attempt to remember the people who have died at these protests. Yesterday, the executive director of Enough is Enough Nigeria, Opeyemi Adamolekun, and a few other people had gone to place flowers. You know what we typically do, like on January 15th, when we lay wreath in remembrance of our armed forces, those who have given their lives for the struggle. Sort of similar to that, in the sense that that was a way to remember those who have given their lives for this struggle, because it is after that struggle that the arm called SARS was disbanded, even though yet police brutality remains. But there was awareness. The world was shaking. X had the logo of the fists representing End SARS. But unfortunately, people died for that to happen. In remembrance of these people, yesterday, Benga and Tolu had hours of conversations about that. And some people took flowers there. This is unfortunately how they were treated. We're going to play a video of Opeyemi Adamolekun, who is Executive Director of Enough is Enough Nigeria. This is the moment where she was going to lay flowers at the Lekki Tollgate, and an overzealous Civil Defense Corps member. LCC, sorry, I take that back. LCC security member, overzealous, member there, starts to struggle with her in the most disrespectful manner, very unflattering, very disrespectful to the memories of the people who lost their lives there, and also very disrespectful to the LCC. I mean, this is, I don't want to believe that this is indicative or representative of what the LCCI stands for.
Well, what you see here is a clear indication that the security operatives were prepared for this day. They did not want anybody or anything to be done at the toll gate or within that area. I was opportune to pass there. I mean, we passed there yesterday morning. It looked all dry, but of course, a few hours later, our correspondent, Bernard Akede, was there, and you could find security cars What they've done here simply is to mention clearly that they are trying to erase history.
Exactly.
And one way you erase history is to ensure that people do not in any way remember what history stood for. So if this wreath was kept there, of course, it further coincides. Did I say coincides? Further reinforces
yes.
That there was a remembrance, or there is a remembrance that lives were lost, and this is what they don't want. Hence, why they've said, people protesting, people walking around, any gathering, any form of remembering what had happened there should not in any way take place.
I tried to stay away from social media as much yesterday, Joe, because every time that I went and I saw a post, I got very emotional. I remembered how life was 5 years ago. We remember where we were. I'm sure that all of us on this set can remember where we were when the shooting started. And the year that ensued, how they tried to gaslight us that what we saw was in our imagination. How they tried to gaslight us into thinking that we were not hearing the gunshots, that people were not hurt, people were not harmed. Amnesty International did their report. The results came out. The panel of inquiry that was set up gave their results as well. There were the verdicts of those who were directly killed as a result of the violence that ensued on the 20th of October while trying to disperse protesters. And then the cumulative number of people that lost their lives in the course of that struggle, because it was a number of days leading up onto the 20th of October. And what will not happen is that we will not remember what happened on the 20th of October. It's a part of our story that we can never forget.
And you're talking 5 years on. We had the opportunity to speak to members of the judicial panel. Only Lagos, to the best of my knowledge, has offered compensation to the victims, and they have been paid. Some of the victims that came before the judicial panel, they paid different sums of money, up to about 43 million naira. But in Edo State, one of the members, we spoke to him on the special Tolu and I had yesterday, and he said, look, after Christmas break, they never resumed. Some other states, Anambra State, that was the epicenter, they had a notorious SARS unit in Anambra State. They just dispersed, and nobody said anything about it. The governors, from Willie Obiano to Governor Soludo, no one cares to bring about it. So I'm not surprised that about the government not even acknowledging this day and trying to forget everything that happened, and it's really, really sad.
It's really sad.
We don't learn lessons from history if we keep sweeping things under the carpet.
I would always make reference to Rwanda, and how what Rwanda did was not to ignore what had happened. There were lives that were lost, people were killed in the Rwandan genocide, and the way that you learn from an action that has happened, a terrible action, is to ensure that you do not forget. So you remember when the Igbo people say, Ozwemina, Ozwemina means let another one not happen, meaning that they recognize that the first one happened in the first place. So we can't rewrite history. There are people whose lives will never be the same as a result of what happened on the 20th of October 2020 at Lekki Tollgate. And regardless of how security personnel, unauthorized security personnel or individuals try to rewrite it, it's a part of our history that will never be rewritten.
Before we go to, just to mention again that I also saw a tweet yesterday, quickly, before we see what Nigerians are saying. And someone said that even in other areas, they had gotten a report that every single person who comes out to protest should be arrested. My point is this. If you remember, May 25, 2020 marks a very important calendar in the American history. That's the death of George Floyd, who was killed by a police officer. Till today, once it's May 25th, everyone knows what that day is. Same with, I think, January 25, you have Martin Luther King Day. These are days that are forever etched in the annals of history. They will always be there for people to look back so that they do not repeat what happened. But here, you're trying to erase what happened.
Do you know what a powerful symbol?
And very few lessons have been learned. We still have incidents of police brutality, high-handedness, and harassment. So the erasure is deliberate for the system to continue in its dysfunctional way and the oppression.
Imagine what a powerful message to send. Yeah. What a symbol. And I'm really glad that you mentioned these days and how it's been marked abroad. Imagine what a powerful message it will send if on the 20th of October there was a statement by the government. If the police stood at that place in solidarity and said, never again will we have to deal with this.
Yeah.
You know? Imagine what a powerful message of reconciliation it will send to the citizens. Again, let's hear what Nigerians are saying on X. They have been reacting to this, and here are the tweets. And if we can please put up the tweets about what Nigerians are saying. Fatai Oshitu says, when the flowers become so threatening that they had to be stopped with force, Nigeria is gradually descending into full-blown dictatorship where citizens' rights and constitutional freedoms are being trampled upon. Lagos State in particular is becoming increasingly hostile to live in. That's what Fatai Oshitu says.
You know, one of the reasons why that the security operators acted that way is, I guess it's due to the training. They are not trained to humanize or see things in context. It's just orders, follow orders, and, you know, that's why Fela did that song. Called Zombie, because in what way is the bouquet of flower threatening you? And is that the best way to approach? You didn't even try to have a conversation in the first place.
All right, the next tweet. The country has been captured by men who are worse than the military. Many of these crooks who claim to be Democrats were only protesting against General Abacha because they weren't the ones in power. Today, they have been exposed, Buwa Meme says. Our next tweet, Nigeria government that recruits illiterates as police officer. All right. Anyway, these are what Nigerians are saying. We'll take some of what you were saying on YouTube. We're streaming live News Central, so please go and drop a comment if you have any reactions to any of the stories. And before Wake Up Conversations is over, I'll take your comments. But still in the spirit of protests, yesterday, October 20th, whilst it marked the 5th year commemoration of the NSAS protests, it also was a day set aside by those who were protesting the freedom of Nnamdi Kanu. It was a movement led by Omoyele Sowore, as well as other Nigerians. We had Omoyele Sowore, who was in attendance, members of Take It Back movement. We had his lawyer, his brother. Reports have it that Nnamdi Kanu's brother, his lawyer, and 11 others were arrested by the police. And, you know, there were promises to release them, but they had then transferred them. But yesterday, they were tear-gassed. Not only were they tear-gassed, journalists were also harassed. Let's take a look at the video of what happened at the protest grounds.
Now, by the police, we're just tear gassed right now. Right now, we're tear gassed again. See, by the same police. We've been tear gassed. Tomorrow they will be crying in Lembe.
The lawyer who was arrested, a lawyer, Jimako, is the lead lawyer to Nnamdi Kanu. He's been detained at the force FCT command. And also Kanu's brother, his younger brother, who's also been detained. And yes, lawyers. And several other persons that happened that were illegally detained by the police during this very peaceful protest. That's why we are here.
What have the responses been like, sir?
Well, today was massive success. The only thing is that we are going to announce a new date again. And that one will be, they have seen now that we can shut down this Abuja. And you know Abuja, not even the Federal High Court where we're supposed to go and defend our case today sacked. Because everywhere was shut down. And we are happy that Uma here shut down. Massive protests everywhere. So Tinubu better understand now that we are not joking.
Mr. Sowore, I mean, it's been a rat race, if we would call it that, since morning up until this point. We would say that the police and the security agencies were particularly looking for not just you, but other organizers of the protest. Isn't it an irony that you're standing right now, right here in front of the force headquarters, yet nobody put handcuff on your hands or whatever?
I volunteer myself. There's never a time the police wanted me that I did not show myself, make myself available. They are not looking for protesters or organizers. They are trying to crack down on organizers. And I know the reason. The new guy they just brought, they call him Mila Dantawai. He's trying to please Tinubu and the illegal IG here and Wiki. That's why he's doing this. But we have said this, we have seen worse policemen before. I see them, some of them are university days. they are the same people we are fighting for who are retired now. No gratuity, no pension. So they'll be doing bad things to your people. One day they will face the consequences.
We're speaking about the protest and the aftermath of the protest, and it happened yesterday in Abuja, but not just in Abuja. It happened in several parts. There were videos online of the ones that happened in Toronto, different parts of the country and outside the country as well, where they were asking literally free Nnamdi Kanu is what the protest is about. Let's get reactions on X as well, and then we'll come back to share our thoughts here. Okay, this person says, Wink Baba says, every time Nigerians rise to speak against injustice, they're met with violence. This is not democracy. Mr. President, respect the people's voice. So peaceful protest is now a death sentence in Nigeria. What a shame. Power shouldn't turn leaders into oppressors. Hashtag free Nnamdi Kanu now.
And Ade Ologo says, it is quite unfortunate that the police Showore was protesting for their welfare and are the ones shooting and tear gassing them today. What an irony. Showore, please never meddle in the issues of police or other security outfits in Nigeria. Leave them and let them continue to suffer. In other words, it's saying it's family affair.
Can you remove your mouth inside?
Yes, I believe says, if you want them to fear you, negotiate and possibly give you pardon. Go and be a bandit. Any other thing, you're wasting your time. Have never seen police come out with confidence of full force where bandits are operating. I tire for Nigeria, he says. Idon of Ads says, peaceful protest is every citizen's right. But let's be honest, not every protest stays peaceful. We can't keep glorifying chaos as courage. Real change needs structure, not street sentiment.
Interesting. And Akman says, when the police shoot tear gas and live bullets at peaceful protesters, they're not just silencing voices. They're exposing who they truly serve. If bandits ever decided to protest, would they face the same wrath? Or would the police suddenly find their professionalism?
The force PPRO, Mr. David, not David, Ben Hunde spoke to News Central yesterday and said no live bullets were fired. That the tear gas canisters, when you shoot them, they have the same popping sound as when you fire a live bullet. So, but he can categorically say that no live bullets.
So the last time we had him on the show as well, this was a question that I asked. I said, is there a procedure for escalation? Or do we just see protesters and then the next thing will go straight into live bullets? But let's take a look at, into tear gas. Let's listen to the video.
Been very commensurate with the situation on ground. The law actually permits the police to use minimal force when necessary. In this particular case, a court order is out there that clearly spells out that protesters should not come anywhere around the Aso Villa, the Eagle Square, the First Headquarters, and Shehu Shagari Way. And for these protesters, they attempted against the dictates of the court order to come close to this place. And after several warnings, yet they still attempted to move to these areas. We had to use minimal force. In this particular case, the minimal force we could use was tear gas. No live bullets. I repeat, no live bullets, tear gas, and it did the work. They were dispersed and the job was done. And this is just in conformity with the assurance we gave Nigerians in our statement released 2 days ago that we would carry out enforcement of the court order and ensure that other Nigerians have easy passage to go about their lawful duties and they are not intimidated or harassed in any way. Attack on journalists. I know for a fact that a few people were arrested this morning, and when it turned out that one of them was a journalist, that journalist was released immediately. So journalists and the press have nothing to fear. The police has no intention of attacking.
There you have him talking about journalists and the press having nothing to fear. But we're going to play you a video now of a News Central team that was indeed on ground to cover the entire protest and see what happened. Take a look.
the evidence there. It is said a lot of people. Hit point at the areas.
Yeah, see, it's well up here.
How did it happen? How did it happen? Tell us.
I just parked I parked the bus. Then when the cameraman just come down, he went out. The civil defense man just come meet me, say, move, move. I said, see my colleagues, we are walking. We are walking here. Before I know, I sit down for my steering, they open the door, hit me for my hand.
This very place that
this very place, my hand now, see as it swell up. The nyash of the gun.
Imagine. Afo, you were the one who we saw dragging with the...
No, actually I was not dragging. I was just coming to like go closer to the driver that he should... Why are they fighting him? One of them just come closer to me. And we are the one that gathered the protesters. I said, no, we are not the one. The next thing you just push me. I said, no, God, don't push me. Don't so. Before I will even try to, one of them just hits my lips here.
So you got an injury?
Yes, on my lips here. So
see.
after some times, they were not begging, it's okay, this and that. Mr. Wadi, that's okay.
So after they did what they...
already done their...
No,
yeah.
Thank you.
Again, we'll have one more video to play for you. Take a look at this video, then we'll come back to share our thoughts here.
Our response has been very commensurate with the situation on ground. The law actually permits the police to use minimal force when necessary. In this particular case, a court order is out there that clear there has been no attack on journalists. I know for a fact that a few people were arrested this morning, and when it turned out that one of them was a journalist, that journalist was released immediately. So journalists and the press have nothing to fear. The police has no intention of attacking the press.
Okay, so if you look at the video, there's a video footage, I don't know if you can see it on your screen, where the military and the police literally went to a identified and branded press vehicle, our new central vehicle. I mean, they're easily identified. They're not protesting. They're in a vehicle. So what would you then in your own defense say the reason was for them to approach the vehicle in that manner? You can see him slapping our journalist around.
Well, I'm seeing this just now for the first time, but I can say that we have no reason to suppress the press, and this will be investigated. For journalists, for the press, they are partners with the police, and when we have cases like this, and there are barricades, even if journalists are coming to cover things, I think they would need also, but I don't know what this case is about, but just to be clear, when there are barricades, even if journalists are covering these events, they also need to respect these barricades and zoom in and take their videos from afar. But this particular case, this video is coming to my attention now, and to be looked.
And that does it. I mean, a sequence of events. There were protests happening. Journalists were on ground to do their job. Our job as journalists is to cover the story and bring the story to you. Yet, what we see is with every protest, we have stories here in News Central of our journalists being harassed. They were harassed at the Free Nnamdi Kanu protest, harassed at the End Bad Governance protest. There was, off the top of my head, I remember the video where the thugs attacked Bernard, you know, where it just feels again, like if the everyday person is being harassed, if the citizens are being harassed, if journalists are being harassed, who is really safe? That's the question.
You know, it's ironic that this is happening on the day of, or it happened on the day of the 5th anniversary of the NSAS protest. It just shows that nothing has been learnt. And the video of the harassment of a New Central crew there was by men of the Nigerian Civil Defense Corps. And you wonder if all these paramilitary agencies don't have a code of conduct, or if they don't interface with civilian, if they don't have the organization and civilian type of relations or any sort of training whatsoever. An AFP journalist was arrested yesterday. His camera was also damaged by security operators.
Will they replace it?
What sort of training these people have.
Will they replace the camera that was damaged?
Year on year, week after week. And these are things that are happening in the full glare of the public. Imagine the things that happen when there's no one there to record.
Bigger, yesterday on the front page of one of the newspapers, we saw two journalists, pressmen, who were crying. They were in tears. One of them had a camera in hand. The other one was consoling him because a bomb had decimated a particular space and killed their colleague. We know that in the world there has been repeated calls, which you are also aware of, protecting journalists in the face of war, crimes, and so on. And the reason is because the journalists are very important when it comes to carrying out duties. Yeah. They're the fourth realm, so they help document. It's also good for the police because they can act in a manner and way in which they can say, oh, you have recorded proof from the press that this is what we did.
In their duty.
There is a big problem. Our reporter, Bernard Akede, was attacked. This was last year, if I'm right. And the same Mr. Ondei had promised here live in this studio that he was going to ensure that they apprehend the culprits whose faces were glaring, showing right there on the screen. It's even part of our promos that you would watch regularly on the show. Till today as we speak, shishi, nothing has been done. There's also a picture of a very popular guy who had a knife during the NSAS period, you remember?
Yes.
Just not far away from
One of the thugs in Alausa that came to disrupt.
Alausa that came to disrupt. And people even went as far as...
branded machete.
Thank you. Yeah. Digging up his Facebook page, digging up his name, his family, assisted the police in doing the whole thing and said, police, take, this is a guy who almost wanted to slash and cut people while we were protesting. What did the police do? Nothing. And now you have a new one where they are attacking a news central vehicle journalists.
Because
so what do you want?
Like, how bad can it get? Because it's one thing for you to say, oh, they didn't know we were press, but they were literally in a press vehicle. It was a bus that had press. What more branding do you want?
I don't know.
Okay, let's see
I think they need to step up the qualification for
sensitization,
for recruitment into all the paramilitary forces.
And all the people who are in, and we'll come back to talk about them. Let's see what Nigerians are saying, and then we'll come back to finalize our thoughts in that regard. Victor Peter says, where is the Nigerian Broadcasting Commission? I'm asking again for the obtained time. Where are they when these atrocities are meted out on journalists? A valid question.
Their work is to ban music.
Exactly.
Anything Idris releases.
Civil defense used to be civil until Tinubu happened. Wow. Okay. Civil defense, just now they gave them gun. They don't start to the show off.
And FRC is asking for gold.
It will be worse. This is why they'll push against certain security officials being given arms to do what they're doing. Again, we will say the lives of journalists matter. The work that journalists do matter. Even in war situations, journalists are allowed to go into the scene, and they are not treated like war criminals. They're not hurt.
Geneva Convention protects journalists.
Yes. You're protected, but we can't start to see that being broken here in Nigeria. We are calling on the Nigerian police and asking that these men be investigated and that something be done to ensure that we don't keep seeing repeat incidences like this.
I agree with you. And lastly, as we wrap up, let's not forget that there's one fact that we cannot erase. The former president, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, had increased the pump price. It was the current president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and eminent Nigerians that gathered and protested and shut down.
I was there at the Ghanaian Farming Park.
Shut down the economy. They were not tear-gassed. They were not beaten. They did not. The press covered, and they had a jolly good time. People ate. People
and
danced.
The former president had to back down.
The former president backed down. Now the reverse.
The right to protest is a right that is enshrined in the Nigerian Constitution, and we must uphold it and not try to deprive people of same. Let's now share with you our top stories this morning on Breakfast Central. This morning on Breakfast Central, protesters defy security forces, demand release of IPOB leader Mazi Nnamdi Kanu with the hashtag Free Nnamdi Kanu now. Nigerians react as police fire tear gas and arrest protesters. We'll be, of course, talking about this all through the show today. We'll be analyzing as well Nigeria's youth development agenda, looking at where we are, what the renewed hope agenda really represents when we look at the younger population. We'll be reviewing the newspaper front pages this morning. Join us for all these and more on Breakfast Central. You're welcome back. The streets of Abuja were filled with smoke and fury yesterday as security forces tear gas peaceful marchers demanding the release of IPOB leader Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. The Free Nnamdi Kanu protest organized by civil rights groups and sympathizers was meant to be a peaceful demonstration, but what started as chants and placards ended in chaos.
Videos circulated online showed protesters running for cover, coughing, some collapsing. The question this morning is, why did it escalate to that point? Is Nigeria at a crossroads between justice and reconciliation? And what message does tear gassing peaceful protesters send in a democracy? Join us this morning for analysis is political analyst and columnist with the Punch newspapers, Mr. Jide Ojo. A warm welcome to you, Mr. Jide Ojo, and thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central.
It's my pleasure. Good morning.
All right, before we get into the conversation, I want you to take a look at this video and then we'll kickstart the talk.
Reactions so far. We've been at the Central Business District, we've been at Beggar Under Bridge, and we are still here, still expecting the rain. This time, unfortunately, not the rainfall from the skies, but rainfall from tear gas canisters pelted on protesters. Talk to us about it, Mr. Shore.
You see, we told them that today will be different.
Quiet, please.
Today will be different. And that nobody can stop this spirit that has now been awoken. Yes. And this is to ensure that we bring our brother home. When we went to transport, the tear gas us, we relocated to Tako. The tear gas us, we relocated to Abu. Abu has the biggest so far. Yes. And that is to show to you that very soon this will get out of hand if they don't do something about releasing them. We are not threatening violence. We are just saying that in this country we all deserve a right to be citizens. If you want us to be citizens in this country, if you don't want Nigerians to be citizens in their country, let those people who want to go.
Now, Mr. Ojo, yesterday's protest was largely peaceful until the tear gas canisters were deployed. What's your reaction to the response by Nigerian security agencies, and do you think the state is weaponizing force against protesters?
Of course, the state is very repressive, and on time immemorial, whether you're talking of under the military rule or under civil authorities, the state have always been very repressive. Particularly, they have been very intolerant of protest. Given the fact that, particularly in this era of social media, they know the power of protest. In my column in the Punch newspaper 2 weeks ago, I wrote about averting another Gen Z protest in Nigeria. And I did that against the background of the spiraling and protest across the globe. Just yesterday, there was protest in South Africa, with South Africans asking Cyril Ramaphosa to resign. We've seen protests bringing down government. If you recall the Arab Spring of 2011, I chronicled quite about 6-7 aftermath of that, where it ended up with change of leadership from Egypt to Tunisia to several other. Even the eventual fall of Syria was as a result of that protest that was ignited way back in 2011. Now, fast forward, two regimes, two governments have been brought down by protests in Nepal and recently, just last week, in Madagascar. So the government at all levels, the government across the globe are always very apprehensive when it comes to issue of protest. But yeah, it's an inalienable right of citizens to protest. But the mortal fear that the government always have is, if allowed, protesters will draw sympathy from many Nigerians who are hungry, and before you know it, it may snowball into a very controllable crowd where looting and ASEE may end up happening. If you recall EndSARS protest of 5 years ago, it started like a very peaceful protest. The entire first week was very peaceful. Government was providing security cover until when the protesters decided to block the airport access road as well as the Kubwa access road. And then government knew it's time to dismantle this protest. It has gone beyond what was initially envisaged, more so as they claim that all the initial 5 demands have been met. So government at all levels will always want to protect. This is what we call reignited protection. It is not right. I'm not saying we should tolerate shrinking of civic space, but you know, the Nigerian state is in cahoots with judiciary to always get court order to stop protests or to restrict protests to certain areas, as was the case under consideration, where there is a purported court order which I have not seen, which has not been seen by many, saying that protesters should not come around the 3-arm zone of the FCT, particularly the central area. So, long story short, this is the chronicle, this is the fear that with the Gen Z protests across the globe now, even in US, you recall that the Americans 2 days ago, I don't know whether they are sustaining it, there is a No Kings rally across the 50 states of America, where they said an estimated 7 million people have trooped out to protest against the authoritarian inclination of Donald Trump, their new president.
Okay, I want us to go back to the court documents that you've referenced. The certified true copy was made available to the News Agency of Nigeria, was reported, and according to the details from the news, it was said that it was signed by the court registrar, Mr. Kasim Wazu, and the presiding judge, Justice Umar, and he said, excuse me, this was the one that sort of, it restrained in the interim protesters from protesting in the following areas: Aso Rock Villa or anywhere close to the villa, National Assembly, Force Headquarters, Court of Appeal, Eagle Square, and on Shehu Shagari Way, pending the hearing of the motion on notice. And what we kind of see is, it's the same thing that happened when the End Bad Governance protests were scheduled to happen in Lagos. We see protests restricted to certain areas. You have said that the instrument of state is in cahoots with the judiciary. Are you saying that you're not in support of the court judgment? You know, seeing as there actually is, according to reports, a confirmed court judgment restricting the protests to certain areas. And if you're not in support of that, you know, how do we navigate going forward? How do we find that middle ground between the right to protest and the right to protest limited to certain areas based on the instrument of, you know, the court?
Sincerely speaking, I don't want to play the ostrich here. No government worth its salt we want to have protests around the 3-arm zone of FCT. Incidentally, I'm talking with you from the Federal Capital Territory because that's where I live and work. And I understand the sensitivity of the entire Shehu Shagari Way from Transcorp Junction down to the police headquarters. And that is the most sensitive aspect, the most sensitive part of Nigeria, because that's where we have the 3 arms of government. On the same stretch by the left, depending on if you are coming from Transcorp, you have the Aso Villa, you have the National Assembly, you have the police headquarters, you have the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeal, Federal High Court. Opposite it, you have the Eagle Square. You also have the federal ministries, some federal ministries across, I think, finance and some other ministries, or just right opposite. So that is about the most sensitive area. And against the background that there was a coup attempt, which led to the cancellation of the 1st October military parade. You know, every government wants to protect itself. And in actual fact, I wouldn't blame the government for seeking judicial cover to restrict protests. After all, sincerely speaking, Abuja is a very big place. But what is curious to me is that from what Showore said in that background that you played, he said even when they went to Utako is not among the restricted area. When they went to Utako, when they went to Akpo, Utako is far from Shehu Shagari Way or 3 Arms Zone. Akpo is also far from where. So, what justification would you now have if you are saying you are enforcing court order? Then you should not restrict them from protesting in areas that are not specified in that court document. So that is where I take exception. But as to trying to safeguard the seat of power, as it were, because I don't know what was the mindset to have all the 3 arms of government concentrated in one stretch of the road. That is very dangerous. Even the Nigerian Television Authority, Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, are within that same axis. And you know, in the event of coup, that is a target. But by and large, I think we need to strike a balance. I'm not saying the right to protest should be constrained. I have also been part of protests, even here in Abuja, and when I was a student of University of Lagos and University of Ibadan. I've been part of protests, street protests in time past, and I will say, to the merit of the case, Nigerian government is playing the ostrich by still holding Nnamdi Kanu under the guise of the cases before court. This is a case that should be resolved politically in order to bring lasting peace and participatory governance in Nigeria. Abakamo says something. He said rebellion cannot exist without a feeling that somewhere in some ways you are justified. That's what Abakamo said. The IPOB agitation is a justified agitation. We have had it with the Niger Delta militancy. For many years, the Niger Delta militants took the nation by the jugular. They undermined the economic base of Nigeria. The entire Niger Delta region was a no-go area for many people for many years, until 2009, when former President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua granted amnesty, which is still sustaining today. That amnesty of 2009 was very instrumental in the achievement of Tinubu administration, which now gloated that they have been able to wrap up crude oil production to 1.68 million as at 1st of October 2025. If that amnesty was not given to Niger Delta militants, I'm sure maybe we would have had to be importing crude oil into Nigeria by now, because the Niger Delta militants were all over and they were making the economy. Not only that, they even killed and maimed. And today, all the militant leaders have been settled. Many have been sent abroad for further studies. They have given their job. Now, it is the result of that agitation that has led to what we have as the Ministry of Niger Delta today. That has also brought about the South-South Development Commission. That has also brought about the implementation of 30% derogation. That has also brought about the amnesty program, where billions of naira have been spent and is still being spent. So sometimes this agitation has their own salutary effect. They have the positive sides to it. And I think we should look at IPOB agitation. What is source for the goose is source for the gander. If you can grant amnesty to insurgents in the northeast under the guise of Operation Safe Corridor, you are taking Operation Safe Corridor. These Boko Haram insurgents have killed and maimed and destroyed public property. They have made the state ungovernable. But you will say, oh, those who voluntarily surrender should be given the radicalization and reintegration. So what message are you sending? These people committed greater heinous crime than Nnamdi Kanu. Then you look at the Northwest. The bandits in the Northwest, are they not being granted amnesty? Are they not being rehabilitated? Are they not being encouraged to lay down their hands? and get amnesty from state and federal government. So even in the Southwest, where you are, we have heard the stories of ROPC, Operation Odua People's Congress, in the 90s, when they took the nation, the country by storm. And people like Chief Gani Adams, who is today the Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò of Yoruba land, was arrested by the authorities and was being prosecuted, but the state eventually found a political solution to it. I don't think he was ever convicted before he was released. And so if you can extend some gesture to someone like that in the Southwest, you have extended similar gesture to Niger Delta militants, you have done it to bandits in the Northwest, you've done it to insurgencies. Why is Nnamdi Kanu's case different? Why can't we find a political solution to solving this conundrum? Because yes, he has incited violence. Yes, people have died. Yes, just like every other people have cited their cases. He is right to agitate for betterment of his people. And that is why today I am in full support of finding even political arrangements like that of the Southwest in 1998, 1999, where there will be rotational presidency, where the Igbos will be able to produce the presidency of Nigeria, just to give them a sense of political inclusion. After all, it was part of the agitation of the Niger Delta militants that led to the Goodluck Jonathan vice presidency in 2007. Eventually, he became acting president. Eventually, he became president. So, Niger Delta militants do not and cannot say in good conscience that the nation has undermined them or that they have not been politically included. And if we can do what the military did for the Yorubas in 1998, where they said, okay, there are 3 registered political parties, the 3 agreed to field only Yoruba candidate for presidency of 1999. And you have AD, that's Alliance for Democracy, and MPP then, Nigeria People's Party, forming an alliance and fielding Olu Falae, the former secretary to the federal government, former minister of finance under the military. He was the presidential candidate of the 2 parties, and Olusegun Obasanjo became the candidate of PDP. So that in 1999, head or tail, whoever you vote for in the presidential election of 1999, you are ending up to vote for a Yoruba candidate. And that's why Obasanjo became president, and for 8 years, he governed Nigeria. And now, Yorubas are having the second time as president under Bola Tinubu. Why can't we extend similar arrangement to the Igbos and say all dominant parties, even if we don't want to include it in the constitution, we can say the dominant parties, the APC, the PDP, the Labour Party, the NMPP, there is a political solution that could be arranged, that they all field the Igbo candidacy in future elections, maybe in 2027 or in 2031, if 2027 is too late. You can have that arrangement, in which case whoever you voted for, at that election will be an Igbo person. And at the end of the day, the Igbos will no longer have this feeling of alienation. Look at what's going on in Lagos, that they are being chased out of Lagos, and there is a lot of political persecution against the Igbos in Lagos. These are feelings. It may not be entirely true, but perception sometimes could be very close to reality. So for me, I support free Nnamdi Kanu. There's nothing Nnamdi Kanu has done that has not been done before, and once things have been done, under OPC, we have had people killing and maiming and destroying public property. Even the Sunday Igboho case, the way the state, the federal government handle it, and that's why Sunday is still a free man today, even though it's a reintegration. So what message are you sending? These people committed greater heinous crime than Nnamdi Kanu. Then you look at the Northwest. The bandits in the Northwest, are they not being granted amnesty? Are they not being rehabilitated? Are they not being encouraged to lay down their hands? and get amnesty from state and federal government. So even in the Southwest, where you are, we have heard the stories of ROPC, Operation Odua People's Congress, in the 90s, when they took the nation, the country by storm. And people like Chief Gani Adams, who is today the Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò of Yoruba land, was arrested by the authorities and was being prosecuted, but the state eventually found a political solution to it. I don't think he was ever convicted before he was released. And so if you can extend some gesture to someone like that in the Southwest, you have extended similar gesture to Niger Delta militants, you have done it to bandits in the Northwest, you've done it to insurgencies. Why is Nnamdi Kanu's case different? Why can't we find a political solution to solving this conundrum? Because yes, he has incited violence. Yes, people have died. Yes, just like every other people have cited their cases. He is right to agitate for betterment of his people. And that is why today I am in full support of finding even political arrangements like that of the Southwest in 1998, 1999, where there will be rotational presidency, where the Igbos will be able to produce the presidency of Nigeria, just to give them a sense of political inclusion. After all, it was part of the agitation of the Niger Delta militants that led to the Goodluck Jonathan vice presidency in 2007. Eventually, he became acting president. Eventually, he became president. So, Niger Delta militants do not and cannot say in good conscience that the nation has undermined them or that they have not been politically included. And if we can do what the military did for the Yorubas in 1998, where they said, okay, there are 3 registered political parties, the 3 agreed to field only Yoruba candidate for presidency of 1999. And you have AD, that's Alliance for Democracy, and MPP then, Nigeria People's Party, forming an alliance and fielding Olu Falae, the former secretary to the federal government, former minister of finance under the military. He was the presidential candidate of the 2 parties, and Olusegun Obasanjo became the candidate of PDP. So that in 1999, head or tail, whoever you vote for in the presidential election of 1999, you are ending up to vote for a Yoruba candidate. And that's why Obasanjo became president, and for 8 years, he governed Nigeria. And now, Yorubas are having the second time as president under Bola Tinubu. Why can't we extend similar arrangement to the Igbos and say all dominant parties, even if we don't want to include it in the constitution, we can say the dominant parties, the APC, the PDP, the Labour Party, the NMPP, there is a political solution that could be arranged, that they all field the Igbo candidacy in future elections, maybe in 2027 or in 2031, if 2027 is too late. You can have that arrangement, in which case whoever you voted for, at that election will be an Igbo person. And at the end of the day, the Igbos will no longer have this feeling of alienation. Look at what's going on in Lagos, that they are being chased out of Lagos, and there is a lot of political persecution against the Igbos in Lagos. These are feelings. It may not be entirely true, but perception sometimes could be very close to reality. So for me, I support free Nnamdi Kanu. There's nothing Nnamdi Kanu has done that has not been done before, and once things have been done, under OPC, we have had people killing and maiming and destroying public property. Even the Sunday Igboho case, the way the state, the federal government handle it, and that's why Sunday is still a free man today, even though he's still on the wanted list of DSS. But at least there was a kind of political arrangement. He fled to Benin Republic, was being prosecuted. Eventually, after 2 years, he was released. He went to Germany, came back to Nigeria, and nobody has harassed him. So what I'm trying to say is that we can also give a sense of belonging to the Igbos. The way the Nigerian state is running is like that feeling of alienation, that feeling of discrimination against the Igbos, that feeling of marginalization against Igbo is very palpable. And that's why someone like Nnamdi Kanu is very popular. That's why the Igbos are, particularly ordinary Igbo citizens, are in support of his agitation. And the government can take the storm out of their strength by just finding a political solution, have him released to the Igbo leaders with a stern instruction not to cause further incitement against public authority.
All right, Mr. Ojo, I mean, you've spoken extensively well, highlighting the past. It's much more like taking us back to where we're coming from. And every sensible person, permit me to use that word, would be able to see through what you've said and will be able to understand where we are as a country. But I want to ask, just yesterday on one of our major programs, talking about Politics HQ, we did have Declan Hiekere, who happens to be an activist as well. He said while he joined the protest yesterday, he was being told by a policeman that an Igbo man and you are protesting in Lagos. It was much more like he was doubting him, like, how dare you protest in Lagos as an Igbo man? Okay, what do you think when it comes to ethnicity, when it comes to tribal sentiments? How have these things affected how Nigerians see ourselves, how we see ourselves, especially politically?
That's why I'm saying this is not about ethnicity or religion. You see, when you see the figures of 139 million people below poverty line as espoused by the World Bank very recently in its latest report on Nigeria. Who are the 139 million Nigerians? They are all members of Nigerian tribes and religion and status. Maybe only 10% of Nigerians can pay their bills conveniently now without having to go borrow to pay bills. So we are all united in poverty. And what I believe is, these all sentiments that tribe and religion matters in our electoral process or in the way we should think. We have gone past all these sentiments. In fact, when people say they want to secede, I look at the viability of secession in Nigeria of today. There are Igbos who do not even know their own state today. They have lived all their lives in Lagos. There are Hausas in Idiaraba who have never been to their own state. They can make proverbs, they can speak Yoruba language as if they are natives because they were born, bred and water. Have you seen Victor Osimhen, vibing to Yoruba songs? He said his best food is amala and owedi. This is a Benin boy. He's an Edo boy. It's not entirely as Victor says to Yoruba. But you see, the political class is the people who wants to cause this division. And they do it for political reasons. One lesson I learned from the 2023 election, presidential election in particular, was this issue of Muslim tickets that was demystified. All along, it has been Christian president, Muslim vice president, or vice versa. But we have seen that in many states, where there are even significant Muslims, they have had both Christian governor and Christian deputy governors. We have seen some states with significant Muslim, Christian population having a Muslim governor and Muslim deputy. If you go to Borno State, but southern Borno is predominantly, from what I learned, Christians. But if you go by their governor and deputy governor, they are usually Muslims. And we have seen even in Ondo State at some point where both Governor Mimiko and his deputy are both Christian. Mimiko, even though is Abdurrahman, is a converted Christian, and the deputy was Christian, and heavens did not fall. Yet, the Ondo people have significant Muslim population. So sometimes it's the political class that found the embers of discord using religion, tribe, ethnicity to have their way. And this sentiment is now being exhibited even within the military and the paramilitary and the security sector, which is quite unfortunate because even over the decades, over the centuries, we have intermarried, we have mingled, we have done businesses together. For us, for all of these sentiments,
absolutely agree with
sentiments
you, Mr. Jide, because a number of us, I mean, people who are not typically, from the Southwest, were born and brought up in the Southwest. Our strength and our strength is in our diversity and the unity we can find. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, Mr. Jide. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My pleasure, only.
Thank you.
Stay blessed. Keep safe.
Thank you.
All
Stay
right.
well.
You too.
Let's now share with you what's coming up next on Breakfast Central. Coming up next on Breakfast Central, youth in governance will be a key focus, analyzing what the plans are for the current administration. We're analyzing Nigeria's youth development agenda, seeing where we are and what the projections for where we ought to be are. We'll also be speaking to you and looking at increasing our internally generated revenue. Stick with us.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We now beam the spotlight on Nigeria's youth, the heartbeat of our democracy, the engine of our economy and the soul of our future. From unemployment to innovation, from street protests to political appointments, the youth agenda is no longer a footnote, it's front page. But is Nigeria truly investing in its young people or simply pacifying them with little promises here and there? Joining us from this discussion is a man at the center of youth policy, party mobilization and national engagement, the national youth leader of the All Progressive Congress, Honorable Dayo Israel. A warm welcome to you, Dayo Israel. Thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central.
Thank you very much, Benga. Good morning, and how's it going over there where you are?
Very well, thank you. We're glad to have you for this very important conversation. We have quite a lot to unpack, so let's get straight into it. Honorable Israel, you've spoken several times about youth empowerment under the Renewed Hope agenda of the government. What specific metrics show progress, not just plans, in employment, education, and entrepreneurship? And how are we faring so far?
Thank you very much, Benga, and the team, and it's a good morning from this side of Lagos that I am. I want to start by saying that youth development is a critical part of nation building. Our demography, young people under the age of, in particular, 40 and below, form a huge percentage of our population. We're also the generation that owns the future. And so it's important that we're giving priority, a seat at the table, and opportunities, enabling environment in issues that affect us. And I don't take that lightly. And that also forms part of what I do as National Youth Leader of the ruling party. Not just in terms of advocacy, lobbying policymakers to drive youth inclusion, but also even in terms of programmatic activities that we do at the youth house of the ruling party that I just set up in Abuja, which is in Wuse, where part of what we do is to engage young people, build skills of young people, and also in addition to that, create enabling environment for young people to engage policymakers and key decision makers. There are 4 or more buckets of importance and priority for young people. One of them is education. Another one is employment and job creation. Another is enterprise. And you have many others, healthcare, social well-being. But I think that out of all of this, one of the most important parts of all of this is education, because education is what makes the children of the poor to be able to have the same experience as the children of the rich. Education is a leveler. It gives you a baseline to be able to build upon to achieve success. And so I hold, and I believe in the same for a lot of young people, importance in investment in education. And if you look at what the current administration is doing, we're very excited about the investment that the president is doing in terms of education, in particular through things like the student loan. Because before now, apart from the few that are lucky to get bursaries and scholarships, you have a critical mass, a large demography of young people who want to get education, but do not have the resources to. And so we're excited when the president inaugurated the student loan program and the NAIL fund, so that the young people of Nigeria want to get into school, do not have to bother their parents and burden their guardian on school fees and, of course, things like stipends to support them in school. So when the government introduced the student loan, thousands of young people across Nigeria benefited from it. They pay the funding directly to the institution, and they pay the pocket money directly to the student themselves. You don't get to pay anything until all of this funding, until you have graduated and you are in employment. So because you graduated does not mean you start paying the loan.
You do. Conclude the conversation.
We're just scratching the surface because there's so much to unpack. There's youth restiveness, there's protests, there's a massive unemployment among youth. So there's a lot to discuss, and we're just touching NAIL Fund, which is, I mean, a lot of people who have praised it said it's a great initiative, but not all the Nigerian youths are interested in going to university. And university education, okay, after getting it, doesn't really guarantee you employment, because where are the factories? Where are the opportunities? Who is going to absorb all of those graduates into the workforce? How about those that want to be entrepreneurs? And Nigerian youths, for example, in Lagos, those that are not doing anything, the area boy menace, these are conversations that we would like to have with Honorable Dayo Israel. Hopefully we can have him back.
Us.
Yes,
yes. Welcome back to the conversation, Israel. Yes, we're speaking about the student loans and the importance of the student loan. Please go ahead.
That's one phase, for example. So education is a leveler, it's an enabler. It puts you on a pedestal. So that's one angle. The second angle is the areas of job creation. There's so many interventions that the federal government is doing now, in particular in the areas of TVETs, and vocational skills and all of that. You will also recall that the Minister of Education recently was speaking and announced that young people, even people on the street, people who don't have educational degree, that want to do vocational training programs, that want to build their skills from organizing to welding and all of that, are going to even be paid for signing up in those institutions, because those skills are very important. I grew up in England in my teenage years, a little part of my teenage years to my adolescence. And I know that if you call out a plumber in England, for example, it's £75 at that time, just for them to come and check what's going on. They haven't fixed the problem, but the call-out fee was £75. And so there's skills that we need to pay premium for. We need to respect, we need to honor, we need to make more professional. And those are areas where the federal government is investing a lot. For example, there's a lot of TVET intervention directly through the Ministry of Education and also through the Office of the Assistant to the President on TVET, Biola Arogudade, and many others who are doing a lot in terms of building capacity, and also supported by civil society organizations. So in skill building, in particular vocational skills, you have that. Even at a level at the party, at the Youth House in Abuja, every week there's a couple of trainings going on. Tomorrow, for example, we're training young Nigerians on how to bake cakes, confectionaries, caterings, and all of that. 2 weeks ago, we had a digital skill training program at the APC Youth House in Abuja. So we're teaching young people in tech, we're teaching young people in vocational skills, we're teaching young people in soft skills, employability skills, and there's a lot beyond even the party that the government is doing across the country.
Okay.
Because today, career is not just in the classroom, it's also skill development. Many people are able to do a lot, from even coding, and other IT skills. And then finally, before I yield the mic, is also the issues of enterprise development. There's a lot of young people that want to set up businesses. They want to be entrepreneurs. They want to run their own initiatives. And so it's to also look at how is government supporting and funding those ideas. Yes, a lot of young people are getting seed fund and capital from the private sector, but also the administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu is also supporting young people with resources for their startups. SMIDAN, for example, Bank of Industry, and Nexim Bank have some of the organizations that are financing startups, financing young entrepreneurs with different seed grants to be able to help to establish their business.
Okay. I mean, you've highlighted some of these good works that the federal government is putting in place, but some young persons will some way disagree and say that you can tell by the number of young persons you find on the street. I mean, take a look at the protest yesterday. You have a lot of unemployed youths who had to join the protest, and not just that of yesterday, but also previous protests that we've seen. Can you also share with us, aside from NEL Fund, aside from what has been provided by the federal government, what is also expected of the federal government in regards to helping the youths to secure jobs, especially now? Because we've not seen jobs, circulating around the country. And then secondly, I just want to add, what also happened to the youth confab? We're supposed to have a youth confab. I think it was supposed to be February this year, but it never actually happened.
So thank you very much. One of the things I love the fact that you raised is that there's still a lot that needs to be done. So you understand that we're a country with a huge population. Over 70% of our population are young people. And I agree with you that there's a bucket of young people out there who are not able to access opportunities. Now, the reality is that some are not able to access it, not because opportunity don't exist for them, but because they're not aware or they're not benefiting, or they don't believe and trust. I'll give you an example. I meet a lot of young people who maybe I'm in a restaurant and, I see them and I'm like, oh, why are you not in school? Or what did you study? And okay, I'm waiting to go to university. Like, so why haven't you gone to university? And they say, I'm waiting for admission, or I'm trying to work to pay my way to go to university. I'm like, you don't even need to do any of that because student loan is there for you. And part of the challenge in southern Nigeria is that southern Nigerians have not embraced the whole idea of a student loan just because there's a word loan in it. So it's also not that the president and the government is not doing a lot. And mind you, it's not just the federal government, it's also the state government. Governor Kanu, for example, is doing a lot of work. There's a lot of employment created in the new rail industry that Lagos is creating. The blue line, the rail line, for example. There's a lot of funding, for example, in a state like Lagos from LSCTF, Lagos State Enterprise Trust Fund, that gives entrepreneurs from 500,000 to 5 million, to start or scale up their business, depending on what the experience is. Lagos, for example, has a Latif Jakande Leadership Fellowship. There's a lot of initiatives that government is doing at different levels. First is perhaps people are not many people feel like whenever they hear that government is doing something, they feel that maybe it's not true, maybe it's audio. They don't trust the process, they don't trust it, and so they don't embrace it. So I meet a lot of young people, you meet many of them, who don't know that student loan exists, or they know and they don't want to be part because they hear the word loan. And we have to now begin to sensitize them. Our brothers and sisters in northern Nigeria have embraced the student loan program massively. But down south here, many of us have not really embraced it, or we don't trust it, or we don't believe that it exists, and people don't even take the effort to try to leverage on this opportunity. Now, yes, there's a lot more that needs to be done. There are thousands of our young people that we need to engage, but government is not going to create all the employment. We're going to also, as young people, need to stand up to become job creators, to become entrepreneurs, and leverage on the funding and the support that government has. At the youth house in Abuja 4 weeks ago, I had the MD of Exim Bank, Abba Bello. I had a town hall meeting with young entrepreneurs, young people in exports. We had 2 hours one-on-one question and answer with him to discuss what are the opportunities in non-oil export. How can young people leverage non-oil export? You don't even need to go to America or to export to America and all. You can start by exporting to Benin Republic, to Cotonou, to Niger, to Ghana, and our neighboring countries. Leveraging after to enter into the regional market in Africa. So as young people, we also need to think outside the box and leverage all these opportunities. There are a lot of talks about the opportunities that the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement gives to young people. But how many of us are going out of our way to see how we can begin to enter the African market, even with our products? And yes, we need funding to start up. How can we leverage some of these funding? How can we make the opportunities that people like BOI and Nexim and the others have? So yes, I agree with you. There are a lot of young people out there that we need to engage. But ourselves, also what our government is doing, and leverage on those opportunities to be able to also grow our things. Because in this same system, we have young people who are building fintechs, who are creating solutions in tech, in IT, who are building innovation. So we've also got to be driven and to build something out of ourselves. I grew up in Abuja, Lagos, and I refuse to let the environment that I grew up to determine and define who I became. I wasn't given an opportunity. I went out there to fight for it. I went out there to, look for it. I created solutions. I lobbied. I did initiatives. I started my career running NGOs, using my school, my money, my own allowances to do programs in my community. So, Ashwaji always says, power is not served a la carte. People see me today as the leader of the ruling party. What they did not see were many years of organizing conferences, seminars, in Abuja, in Surrey, in Lagos, with my own pocket money, with my friends coming together to want to make a difference in our community and our society. Yes, government has a lot to do, but we as young people also need to take our destiny into our own hand and begin to do a lot of stuff and then leverage government opportunities to benefit. Look at the Ministry of Agriculture in Lagos.
Israel, if I may interrupt, you've spoken about a number of the things that you did as, when you were much younger, and the opportunities that you've created for yourself, and how young people need to leverage these opportunities. Let's also, talk about the average state of mind of the average young person. There's some measure of discontent. We hear about these opportunities that you're mentioning. How many young people know of these opportunities? What role has been made? I mean, maybe you can share with us how you've been able to communicate the availability of these opportunities, because it's one thing for the opportunities to exist, it's another thing for people to be aware of the opportunities existing and even trusting their access to these opportunities, because again, there is a breach of trust between the government and the governed. So they will just assume these opportunities will not get to us. It will be them. I'm sure this is not your first time, Dayo, that you're hearing, this kind of sentiments being expressed. So what would you say maybe in your role as youth leader you have done or you're doing? One, to communicate the opportunities that are available to these young people, and to ensure that we breach that trust, breach that gap, that young people can then feel that everyone, every one of them deserves, or every one of us deserve access to these opportunities, and it will not be, some form of back-end lobbying that would impact it.
Thank you very much. So another fantastic point. First, the administration has its communication team in Abuja, and they do a lot in terms of communicating these opportunities. For example, things like student loan, they have media advert, they have used social media. Many of the other government platforms does a lot to showcase the opportunities that are available to young people. I also agree that more needs to be done aggressively, and that's why I should be done the ruling party. I've now decided, working with my team, to begin to also help young people to connect to these opportunities. I told you about the youth house to set up in Abuja. Part of what we do is that averagely in a week sometimes, we have 3 to 4 days of event at the youth house in Abuja, where we're hosting government officials, MDs of agencies and parastatals in town halls and conversations. We stream them online, but we don't also just do that. We partner with TV stations like yours to stream those events and activities online. But young people are also more on social media, so also push that on social media. So I'll give you an example. Just last week alone, on the Sunday, we had a speaker of the House of Representatives who was sharing with us, what the National Assembly is doing in terms of youth engagement, in terms of appropriation and legislation for young people. On the Monday day after, we had a meeting with the minister. We had a visit at the youth house in Abuja by the Minister of Trade and Industry, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole. All this are on our social media, on my social media, my Twitter, my Instagram, and the APC Youth Twitter account, and Dayo Israel or at APC NG Youth Wing. So we stream them on our Zoom, on YouTube, and all of that, and we put the content on social media where Dr. Juwole had to, as a matter of fact, I personally, there's a video out there where I personally spoke to her on how Bank of Industry, SMEDAN, and other agencies under Ministry of Trade and Investment needs to come together and do more and create a channel for young people to really innovate. And how I challenged Minister of that day that we need to create a special pot of funding for young enterprise like the U-Win program, so that we can move beyond 500,000 to 5 million. To even be able to give young people as much as 10, 20 million naira, fundings that can, pay for their shop rent, staff for 6 months, equipping, generator and all of that, for them to be able to build businesses and become employers of labor. This was a conversation we had with Dr. Duwale on Black Tooth Monday. Interestingly, on the Wednesday after, which was 2 days after, we hosted the Minister of Women Affairs, where we had a conversation about how legislation needs to be introduced to protect our women, in particular in marriages, where a lot of, the divorce rate is very high in Nigeria right now. And part of what we raised was the fact that we need to, implement legislations that will protect women who are coming out of marriages. A lot of young women were able to express their concerns to the Ministry of Women Affairs. And this event was also streamlined. And finally, on Friday, we have the Senate President, Goodwill Akpabio, who also came to the Youth House to engage and interact with our audience. If you see a video trending across Nigeria about Akpabio's donation to a young person on the plane, that was our program, and that was his speech at our event. So, those are the kind of things that we've created a platform to showcase.
Thank you for reeling out some of the activities that you've done in the short time you've been in office. But let's talk about something apart from the youth development isn't just economic. I saw a video on social media yesterday, and I'm glad the Delta State Police Command has stepped in. It was cult members initiating a very young boy. It was terrible, to put it lightly. What policies exist? Because a lot of Nigerian youth, there's youth restiveness, there's youths are going into cultism, drug abuse, and all sorts of vices. What policies exist to support mental health, addiction, recovery, and social integration for vulnerable youths?
Thank you, and I think that's a critical area. There are 2 areas I want to respond to that matter. Mental health is one, but also the culture and the fabric of our society is another. We've seen a spike in issues around drug abuse among young people, and I believe that as stakeholders, as communities, not just government, even as families, we need to begin to take responsibility for raising our young people, mentoring our young people. The faith-based institution needs to also come in to do more to support our young people. I want to commend Pastor Rapo for what he's doing in terms of helping young people to come out of drugs, addiction, and all of that. But there needs to be more concerted effort. Civil societies working together with government to be able to deal with that. Then also comes the issue of orientation. We need to do a lot to also restore hope and inspire our young people that they have value, and because many times when young people don't get it right growing up, they begin to go into drugs. So mental health, the prevention is an area that we need to also, both as government, as faith-based institution, as families and communities, we need to work on. We need to collaborate to ensure that we can, engage our young people, reorient them, increase their confidence in themselves, support their self-esteem and all of that, and also implement legislations, which I also must commend Colonel Bubabawa, the former governor of Lagos, the former military administrator, for what NDLEA is doing to clamp down on drug pushers and also those who are distributing drugs and harmful drugs to our young people. At the same time, we also now need to begin to look at the issue of support for those who are already having mental health issues. Yes, the government is also doing its own through its ministries, such as the Ministry of Health and other agencies. Even at the state level, many of the states has programs. I know, for example, some of the state government, like the Edo State governor, has SSAs on drug abuse that goes to orientate and engage young people and to support them. And we also have centers, for example, where people can go for rehabs. We need to continue to do more, and that's important, because these young people are our future. They are the future of our nation. Okay. And I want to use the platform as well to call on people like Nnamdi to do a lot to help us to clamp down on those guys who are exploiting our young people, the future of our nation, into drug abuse.
All right. I know we're really out of time, so we'd really appreciate if we can get quick comments and responses from you in the next set of questions that we have to ask. I'm going to go back to the youth confab. You haven't spoken about that. It was supposed to hold recently. Nigerian youths are waiting to hear from the APC government when it will hold. What's happening with that? That's one. Secondly, because of time, please, what's the way forward for area boys? Because if you've been following through, it seems we have more area boys than we've ever had in the history of Nigeria now.
Thank you. I think I would say that in the areas of area boys, we need to, which is what I said earlier, we need to do more for our young people. We're doing a lot already, but as government, as civil society, as faith-based organizations, as religious bodies, we need to do more to inspire our young people, to help them to understand the potential that they have. And if young people understand more of what they carry, they won't go into drugs, they won't become street urchins. Because the society, yes, should be able to provide more opportunities, but we also need our young people to be able to leverage on more opportunities and also to be self-driven and inwardly. And so I'm calling on every stakeholder, as government, as a party, we are doing our best. As an individual, because I've been involved in youth development even before becoming the national youth leader of the ruling party. I've been running NGOs since I was a kid, for those who know me. In terms of youth engagement and youth participation, we must and we will continue to do a lot. And we would also continue to lobby our policymakers to do a lot more in terms of youth development, youth engagement,
all right,
as they have always done.
All right, Israel, hold that thought. I know you're going to speak about the youth confab, but we need to go on a break now. When we come back, we'll begin with youth confab. Please stay with us.
Welcome back, Breakfast Central, and we are still discussing with Honorable Dayo Israel, who joins us live here via video conferencing. Thank you so much for your time. Now, before the break, we did ask the question concerning the youth confab. I think we'd like to put a closure to that. When is it happening? Is it even going to happen? And I think you were also responding to the area boys, but let's talk about the youth confab first. Let's deal with that.
So first, the youth confab is a very noble idea, a very fantastic idea. However, I'm not really involved in the youth confab. It's a program of the Ministry of Youth and the administration. But the idea is that the party will take a back seat on this one so that it's not an APC youth agenda, but a Nigerian youth agenda. And so the party is not necessarily directly involved in the planning or the organization of the youth confab. So I won't be able to speak about this. It will be the role of the Minister of Youth to respond to that.
Okay.
So let's then go back to the conversation about area boys that my colleague had asked about. You were speaking to some of the NGOs that have worked, to take a number of them off the streets. If you can maybe speak to, if you can mention particular NGOs that have worked with, do we have a number of people taking off the streets, where we started from, where we are, and what the projections are for where we ought to go to?
So there are a lot of NGOs who are doing a lot to support, young people or, street urchins and those who are drugs on the street. And like I mentioned earlier, Pastor Tony who's at the forefront of many of this, and there are a lot of other, through this present house, and there are a lot of many other organizations that are doing this. I think what is central to this is that we need to renew the hope of our young people. We need to inspire young people. We need to orientate our young people. We need to restore hope and confidence in the young people. Many young people nowadays, in particular with the use of social media, have become, mentally drained. They've become more materialistic. They sit in society and they've been driven. And what we then need to do is to begin to pass a positive message. And I believe that the faith-based institutions, the churches and the mosques, have a critical role to play in this. And they do that a lot in the North in particular, where, the clerics use the power of, the sermons on the Friday prayer service to teach values. Same with the churches on the Sunday. And we can't put all of this on the government alone. The government relies on the support of faith-based institutions, traditional leaders, traditional rulers, and all of that to be able to pass this message, this positive message, message of hope in young people.
I like what you say, I like that you said we cannot rely on the government alone, and that, the faith-based institutions have a role to play. And yes, Pastor Tony Rapo with the Freedom House, they're doing incredible work picking people off the street. But let's talk about the role that the government has played. And you, as the APC youth leader, the role that you are playing, are you making suggestions and recommendations to the government on how we can engage them? Because the general sense is that the political class weaponizes the young people, and that they become very useful during elections. We'll see them in 2027, and how, a number of the unemployed ones will be put to good use. So what recommendations would you say you've made, and how is the government, what role is the government playing? We're not talking about the faith-based institutions now.
So part of the recommendation that I keep making to our policymakers is for us to put more money in the hand of young entrepreneurs and young people. And they said, there's this word I'm trying to remember, and idle hand is the devil's workshop. And like I mentioned to you during a meeting when we hosted the Ministry of Trade and Investment, was to lobby that more funding is structured through organizations like SMID. I'm sorry, I've got sore organizations like SMID, Bank of Industry, Nexim, and other agencies under Bank of Agriculture can put more funding, more resources into startups, into young entrepreneurs, into small businesses, who can then in turn create jobs. And by the time our young people are busy and they are contributing to development for their families, we are able to then get a lot of them. If you are busy and you are trying to build something, you are trying to be part of something, you won't have time to be engaging in some frivolities, So yes, there are funding, there are grants that we've implemented for young people. Part of what I do as a national leader of the ruling party is to lobby our policymakers, lobby our ministers, and let them see areas where they need to improve. And like I said, that's part of why we established a lot of programs at the Youth House, the National Youth House in Wuse to Abuja, where every week we host one ministry or the other, to come and not just share their plans and the programs and activities of the ministry to the young people, but to be able to hear from young people firsthand on what our expectations are from the administration. Because for us also as a party, we're concerned about the mood of the country and the feelings of the people, and our job is to be able to continue to help policymakers to understand what is going on, understand what the priorities of young people are, and how to respond and address to those. And they've been very open, very receptive to the ideas, and we hope that by the grace of God, when the budget begins implementation, 2025 budget begins implementation, a lot of these programs will now, and interventions by the government will be implemented to impact the life of young people.
Now, Dayo, I still want to go back to this issue. You told us you grew up in Ibutemeta, and we understand your humble beginnings, but I don't think things are as terrible as they used to be there. And I'm talking about the youth restiveness we see across Nigeria. There's a generation growing restless, the so-called area boys, agberos, street lords. They take illegal taxes from people. You can't trade in certain areas without paying them. Your vehicle must not break down in certain areas, or unless you will be harassed or threatened with violence. And this has become a serious menace in Lagos. And I'm sure when you were growing up, it was never this bad. As somebody who honed his skills in Lagos, and Lagos does mean a lot to you, to see your state become a haven for this youth that are, sometimes it's not their fault, they're just victims of circumstances, and as they hand life dealt them. What specific policies or steps, or is the government even aware that this is a problem, or like my colleague suggested earlier, that they're just happy to weaponize this poverty and this youthful restiveness for political gains come electionary season?
I think it's also important for us to be a big practical. Let me give you an example. There's an adage in Yoruba language that says, "Amuko erewo." And Amuko replied and I'll interpret it for you. And Amuko replied and said, "Okelewu ewo sale." In other words, they said, "Amuko, your luggage or your head is tilted." And he said it's tilted because you're not looking down, you're looking up. You have to look at the base, the fundamentals of the factors. You've referenced Lagos in particular, but this is not just a Lagos matter. Lagos is just receiving the brunt of this. I'll give you an example. When many state governments, in particular, across other parts of Nigeria, are not able to provide, and see, let's be clear, the president has his role and continues to play his role. And look at what he has done, for example, with the fundings for the fuel subsidy removal, the savings from the fuel subsidy, which has put into the hand of the state governors. There are still state governors who are not performing their role, who are not focusing on infrastructure like we're doing in Lagos, whereby Orji Kalu is building the red line, the green line, the blue lines, and all of that, creating more roads, more initiative. Recently, the E1 sport event was held in Lagos. There were also some initiatives like
Dayo, sorry to interrupt you because of a lack of time. Sorry to interrupt you. I'm talking specifics. What you're doing now, you're trying to shift the blame to governors. I need specific policies on what the government is doing to channel this youth restiveness, and what you, as the youth leader of APC, what are you doing to channel this youth restiveness into something more productive for this youth of unemployed Nigerians that are just roaming the streets?
I think I've analyzed, I've raised a lot about that, on how government is financing education, for example. We want more of those young people to go into education, to go into TVET, to go into universities, and government is giving funds and intervention. But I'm explaining why you feel like, why there's a lot of that in Lagos. Because a lot of young people from across other parts of Nigeria comes into Lagos, and when they come into Lagos, you have a huge population in Lagos that has to now manage and deal with the pressure that this puts a strain on the social services. And so when many of them get into Lagos, many of them have no families here, they have no relatives here, they have no accommodation, they have pushed to stay under the bridge or in different slums and all of that. So the effect of that is that when they are not able to access government opportunities, or they're not able to be creative or to find solutions or to create a solution to problems that can become an enterprising idea, they then have to go into things like street hawkings and all of that kind of thing. But government continues to, I mentioned to you, for example, in Lagos there's a Latif Dakonde Academy. There are a lot of employment opportunities that the government has created. There's recruitment into the civil service. There's recruitment into the teaching service, for those that have NCE. Subeb just recruited a couple of, hundreds of teachers, in Lagos State. Same with Tescom is doing the same thing. The government just launched Yomi Eco project that is leveraging the water to create a multimodal transport system. There are many of the initiatives that the APC administration is doing here. But maybe it's because they don't have the background, the educational qualification to leverage some of those things. They then, have to turn to the street to find a means of survival. So what we also want to continue to do as a government, both nationally and at the subnational level, is to help young people to be able to, build more opportunities for themselves, or leverage on what government is already doing. Go into university, leverage on the student loan. Don't wait for your parents to come and pay your school fees. There's free education in all the primary level. Get a basic education, get a secondary education. That way, you don't grow up to become a trans, but you're able to actually make something out of yourself and your family. So if we focus a lot on education,
all right, Mr. Dyer, okay,
and we focus on enterprise, our young people will not be on the street, who are now becoming area boys and town.
Okay, Mr. Dyer, I mean, we do have some messages on our social media platforms, and some of the youths feel that, your comments are more for the elitists. Those who went to school, these platforms are created for them. People can use this platform. We are coming down. I don't know, but I just want to ask. I don't know the last time you had to change your tire on the expressway. I know it may have been a very long time.
It's not a long time. I'm not a big man. I'm just a young Nigerian trying to make the best out of myself.
So I want to take it that you don't have security. You don't have security with you. You don't have police officers with you. I want to take it like that. Like you don't have police officers work. You don't have police details. You don't have police officers around you.
I drive myself sometimes. I go out sometimes alone. You know.
Okay, so it's come sides, neither here nor there. Sometimes you do, but our questions. Yes. I mean, just to wrap it all up because we're out of time. I think we need to have another sit-down conversation on this, and we would like to also mention that our questions are not bordering on the elitist or what the government is doing at the top. We're really looking at those who are below the food chain. My colleague, myself, have mentioned, and most importantly, about the area boys, how it's really affecting movement in Lagos State, which it's a state you happen to also love and have lived and grown in. However, because of time,
it's my state of birth.
Beautiful. So because of time, maybe we would have a return on this and then discuss further on policies, especially for the youth, because every youth watching this program this morning, I can tell you that a huge percentage still feel that you haven't spoken about what really concerns those who are not able to attend these outreaches or programs that have been created. And finally, please permit me to ask this question. I'm begging my colleagues now. You did mention in one of your comments that the government is giving cash and so on. But do you really think that putting money in the hands of people is the right way to go? Because experts have said it clearly that giving people money is not really working in other climes, talk less of Nigeria. Do you really think that's the best thing to do?
My brother, there's no better solution to fighting unemployment, to tackling poverty, than investing in ideas, innovations, and startups. Let me give you an example. Under the UN program, I have a friend in Ibadan called Fumi. Fumi was running a shoemaking business. I was making maybe in a month 10, 15 shoes. From getting about 10 million naira from UN, she was able to rent a bigger shop, buy equipment and machine to make more shoes, hire employees, and then became an employer of labor. Had over 20 people working in a shoemaking factory. Same with another friend of mine who benefited, who had a laundry on Opeyemi on Allen. Was able to buy 10 washing machines, 2 dryers, an ironing machine, and was able to employ people. We're not saying give freebies to people. We're saying invest in entrepreneurship, invest in young people with innovation and ideas who can then create jobs, and we can employ more people. There are many young Nigerians who have great ideas, who have fantastic innovation. They just need funding to be able to start up. So yes, there are different categories of funding. For example, yesterday, my friend Molo, the chairman of Kushafe local government, supported a lot of elderly market women with 50,000 to help them to build their business. For that category of people, it's an investment that is a lot that helps them to buy maybe more bottled water, more minerals to grow that business. But we also need to put money. Look at Yaboye, for example, with money from angel investors and venture capitalists, that is able to scale Andela, flutter ways of the business that because of investment.
We have to go. Daya Israel, in 30 seconds, what would your response be to those who criticize you because of PS5? They're saying the Senate President came to the youth house to play PS5 and you're not focusing on the issues that matter. What would your response be?
So I'll tell you the whole PS5 story. The youth center
in 30 seconds, please.
Has 4 different event halls. So the whole PS5 story is people who don't understand what we're trying to do, because some people have chosen to just say everything about government together. What the Senate President came to do was to engage Nigeria. We saw the video everywhere where he was talking about how we even helped the young man on the plane with $85,000. That was our program. So people think that because the youth house that it says game center. No, it's not a game center. It's a life-changing center. It's a center where young people come and engage with policymakers, key decision makers, and are able to actually express themselves and hold government leaders accountable.
All right. Okay, we hope that we can, expand this further. Unfortunately, Daya Israel, we've run out of time. We have to end the conversation now. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
When we come to the federal capital, we can come and visit the youth house and see for ourselves. Thank you for your time.
I want to play snooker.
All right. We've got a very quick break. Our next conversation will be looking at the release of Nnamdi Kanu when we come back from this break.
We shall yet again be confronting a story that refuses to fade away anytime soon. The continued detention of Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, and the mounting pressure on the federal government to release him. From the streets of Abuja to the corridors of power, the calls are growing louder, with thousands of protesters yesterday marching on the streets of Abuja demanding justice and freedom for Nnamdi Kanu. Well, joining us for this discussion is legal counsel to Nnamdi Kanu, Mr. Maxwell Okpara, who joins us this morning. Thank you so much, Mr. Okpara, for making it here to speak with us. Yesterday was a moment, or a big moment, especially for you and others who actually marched the streets calling for the release of Nnamdi Kanu. But it seems like it didn't go either way. It didn't benefit the movement. What would you tag yesterday as? Would you say you made a statement, or would you say the federal government shut its ears again, not listening to your calls?
The message was passed yesterday very, very well across the whole world. There in America, there in Canada, there in Asia, there in UK, there in Europe, and here in Africa and Nigeria, to be precise. The message is very simple. We are saying it and we continue to say it. The APC-led government, from Buhari down to this present government, hate Igbos with a passion. They discriminate against the Igbos and they discriminate against Nnamdi Kanu. Against Section 42 of the 1999 Constitution, which said that you don't discriminate any citizens of Nigeria as a result of one, his public political opinion. Two, as a result of his sex. It says, three, because of his tribe, color, or anything. You don't discriminate.
Mr. Okpara, I think we have a little network issue there. Okay. Unfortunately, we cannot hear you clearly. Hopefully, you can reconnect with us and let's conclude this conversation. Anyway, we do have footages of Mr. Okpara alongside Shore there during the protests yesterday, where they were calling on the release of Nnamdi Kanu again. Different areas, districts there in the Federal Capital Territory. But let's see, are you there, sir? Can you hear us, Mr. Okpara?
Yes, I'm here, I'm back.
All right, please go ahead.
Yes,
you were trying to wrap up your conversation. Please go ahead.
Sorry, there was a call that came in.
No problem.
The point I'm trying to make is that the APC-led government hates the Igbos with passion. Now, what do I mean? Nnamdi Kanu exercised his fundamental right of agitation under the various human rights legislation, both local and international. And you arrested him for that. And you also arrested him in court. And he was on bail, only for you to use Operation Python guns to attack his house and kill several persons there, which made him to run away, to run for his dear life. And the deposed an affidavit to the court, explained to the court what made him to run away. That if he is the security will be guaranteed, he will come back to face the trial because there is no charge against him, which everybody knows. Since then, 6 different courts, 3 international courts, 3 local courts has given judgment in favor of Nnamdi Kanu. One of the courts awarded 1 billion naira in favor of Nnamdi Kanu against the federal government of Nigeria for violating his rights. Another court also awarded 500 million naira against the same Nigerian government. And for his release, they refused. Court of Appeal, I'm not talking about customary court or upper area court. Court of Appeal sat and unanimously gave judgment that this man never committed anything. You should release him forthwith. Federal government refused. Now, Kenya court dealt with Nigerian government and the Kenya court for act of criminality, and they awarded cost in favor of Nnamdi Kanu against Kenya court. United Nations Human Rights Commission came up with their own judgment and said this man never committed anything that federal government should release him. They refused. Now, what do you see? All these judgments is before the table of the government. Government said no, we will not obey what court said. Now, court now gave judgment, and they said some certain persons committed crime. This one committed murder, he should die than hanging. This one committed out of carry the drug, he should go live jail. Now, federal government said no, he granted all those ones pardon and amnesty because they are from another tribe in this country. Now, the federal government also, the president, directed the police and the army to go and negotiate and discuss with bandits before a very eye. The discussion was going on. They carried their arms and ammunition there in the meeting, sitting with our uniform men, discussing because they are from another tribe. But simply because Nnamdi Kanu is an Igbo, he said no. And someone is telling me the matter is in court. Why not allow matter to go to court? How are you talking about court? That if court gave judgment, they will not obey, and you are talking about court. I don't know whether you are getting what you are saying. So now, a human rights activist, so what they said, does it that nobody from Igbo that can participate now united protest, let the world hear our voice? Nobody came. He decided to take it upon himself. He's not an Igbo, he's not a human rights, he's not nothing related with President and the guy. He called for protest. Only for the government to went to court. And the court said, no, you cannot stop people from protesting. They said they don't want people to come towards the central area. According to what I heard, even as I'm talking to Central Television, you don't have a copy of that court order. Nobody serves us court order. You don't know anything about it. Said, okay. They stopped us. They said that some people should not come towards that from 14th Square. Some people are in front of Transcorp protesting. You came and they shot two tear gas on them and arrested them. They left that place and went to Otaku. You came there, you throw tear gas in a plaza where the protesters front. You throw tear gas inside that place. People suffocated. Is that the country you call Nigeria? Who is dividing Nigeria? The person that is dividing Nigeria is not the government.
Because of time constraints, we would like to come in at this point. Thank you so much, Mr. Opeyemi, for your submission. Because of time constraints, we're trying to get as much as we can in the little time with you. I want to read a tweet here from the Special Advisor to Mr. President on information and strategy, Mr. Bayo Onanuga, and I believe this also concerns you because you are a legal practitioner. You were part of a protest yesterday, so I'd like to know what you think. Mr. Onanuga says, I spotted our lawyer Ejimako, one of Nnamdi Kanu's lawyers, among the small group of protesters mobilized in Abuja by Showore. I wonder what Mr. Ejimako was thinking when he decided to join this shambolic protest. As a lawyer, he should be aware of the principle of sub judice, particularly in relation to the ongoing treason case before the court. The prosecution has concluded its case, and it's now incumbent upon Mr. Ejimako and the other lawyers to mount a strong defense for Kanu. Rather than focusing on preparing a strong case, Mr. Ejimako has resorted to extrajudicial tactics, joining career anarchists to influence the process. So what do you make of this statement, Bart? Because you are part of Nnamdi Kanu's legal team, you're a legal practitioner, and you also took part in yesterday's protest. He said your actions questions his adherence to professional ethics. Legal authorities should consider appropriate sanctions for the unethical conduct of the bearded lawyer. And you also happen to be bearded. But that aside, what do you make of this statement by Mr. Bayo Onanuga, posted on his X account yesterday, calling and the ethics of your profession, knowing that there's a case in court?
Anyway, I thought that we have a serious matter to discuss this morning. That's why I decided to suspend what I'm doing to respond to this thing. As a matter of fact, Central Television is one of the television stations that whenever they come, I answer them because of what we stand for. Please, before you read anything in the studio, please watch the person who is writing it and what is writing. I have PhD in law. I am a researcher. I have written a lot of books. I have an honor. I don't respond to trash. I don't respond to a Google write-off. I don't do that. Somebody just writes something that he wanted to read in national television. He did not write any single law. I told you that Nigerian government is discriminated against the people. I started section 42 of the Constitution. I told you that I have the right to protest. I started section 36, section 39, section 40 of the Constitution. And it's all the right trash. Something that is not even qualified to be written by the worst stout in Nigeria. And they're doing it in national television. Please, if you have some other place to ask me, not a Google write-off. How can somebody look at the kind of talents they are recruiting as the aid of a government? You read something that you tweet, somebody, the mouth of the president. You know that when the president is talking, Nigerians are talking. You know that when the president is moving, Nigeria is moving. When what is his name? I don't know that his name. When he is talking on behalf of my president. I'm talking about president that is representing Maxwell. Look at the trash. If somebody is the head of the president, you do not even ask somebody to guide you. You are saying that a lawyer who is exercising his fundamental right, the lawyer cannot exercise his fundamental right of movement, right of expressing opinion, right of fundamental rights, cannot exercise it because of his profession. Where the Constitution tells you that any legislation, any act of national assembly, any law that is inconsistent with any provision of the Constitution, that particular law remains in affairs. Now, what stops you from writing to Labour Petition Disciplinary Committee that a lawyer protested? Now, my mentor, I participated in a lot of protests with my mentor. I participated in a lot of protests with Femi Falana. I participated in a lot of protests with who is who, the local profession. The MBA did protest. The MBA have protested. And we are now writing trash and wanting to respond. Please go to another, don't respond to Google write-up. Go to another question, let us discuss something that will benefit Nigeria.
Okay, I mean, as we wrap up this conversation, just a final take. Can you share with us what's the way forward now?
No, what is that? Protest is a right of everybody. Allow people to protest. When people protest, they are helping you. There are all these jobless and talents that are testing around the villa. Someone like jobless people, someone like Omanga. These are the government that are making this government unpopular. The government that are making government of the president popular is the protesters, the critics, listen, my dear brother, I have participated in a lot of protests with the president. Occupy Nigeria now, we occupy Nigeria now with the president, this current president, President Ahmed Bola Tinubu. So you cannot stop people from, we are a process of protest. Protest is one of the tenets of democracy. Anytime you show people from protesting, there is no democracy. Anytime you show people from criticizing the government, there will be no democracy. So please allow people to protest. When people protest, they are helping your government. That is the much I can say. Allow people to protest. When people protest, they are helping your government. Allow people to criticize their government. Allow people to aid their opinion. Allow people to voice out. When they voice out to criticize their government, they are making their government popular.
All right, Mr. Maxwell.
Please, anytime anybody is sending something for you to read in the studio, take it very well. It will make people to take their distance. Not when somebody, after drinking a Google, you would ask something to ask someone.
Well, Mr. Opara, we cannot state if the person had taken any form of alcoholic liquor. But thank you so much. Thanks for your time. And just to mention again, this is the tweet that we had talked about from the SSA to the president, Mr. Bayo Onanuga. And there you could see it's the direct tweet from him. And as a journalist himself, a foremost one, He did mention all of what we had asked you, what being had asked you. But we want to thank you so much. We look forward to speak with you again, and we also look forward to hear what the way forward is, especially from the judiciary. Thank you for your time, and do have a blessed day ahead.
Thank you very much.
We'll go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll bring to you breakfast headlines, which comes up right now. Thanks for staying with us on Breakfast Central. Let's tell you what the latest stories are on the headlines this morning. The Nigeria Police Force has denied reports that its officers fired live ammunition at protesters during the #Free Nnamdi Kanu Now demonstration. Force spokesperson CSP Benjamin Dane told News Central that operatives only used tear gas to disperse protesters who he said attempted to access restricted areas around the presidential villa despite a subsistent court order. He also dismissed allegations that journalists covering the protests were harassed or prevented from carrying out their duties, insisting police acted professionally throughout the operation.
Our response has been very commensurate with the situation on ground. The law actually permits the police to use minimal force when necessary. In this particular case, a court order is out there that clearly spells out that protesters should not come anywhere around the Aso Villa, the Eagle Square, the Force Headquarters, and Shehu Shagari Way. And for these protesters, they attempted, against the dictates of the court order, to come close to this place. And after several warnings, yet they still attempted to move to these areas. We had to use minimum force. In this particular case, the minimum force we could use was tear gas. No live bullets. I repeat, no live bullets, tear gas, and it did the work. They were dispersed, and the job was done. And this is just in conformity with the assurance we give Nigerians in our statement released 2 days ago that we would carry out enforcement of the court order and ensure that other Nigerians have easy passage to go about their lawful duties and they are not intimidated or harassed in any way. Attack on journalists. I know for a fact that a few people were arrested this morning, and when it turned out that one of them was a journalist, that journalist was released immediately. So journalists and the press have nothing to fear. The police has no intention of attacking the press.
Okay, so if you look at the
Amnesty International Nigeria has condemned what it calls an unlawful attempt by security forces to suppress peaceful protests in Abuja, where demonstrators demanded the release of indigenous people of Biafra leader Nnamdi Kanu. The Nigeria Police Force has defended its actions, saying officers only used tear gas to disperse protesters who tried to march forward towards Aso Rock, the seat of the presidency. The group later regrouped at Utako, but security operatives again moved in, sparking panic among traders and commuters. In a statement on its official X handle, Amnesty International described the use of force as a violation of freedom of assembly and evidence of growing intolerance for peaceful dissent. The group urged authorities to end the crackdown and engage protesters through dialogue. The Nigeria Labour Congress has issued a 4-week ultimatum to the federal government to conclude negotiations with the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, and all tertiary institutions-based unions. The NLC also condemned the no work, no pay policy produced by the government as a form of sanction to members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities for daring to embark on a nationwide strike. NLC Jero made this known in an interactive session at the NLC headquarters in Abuja, which followed the meeting between the Labour Union and leaders of unions' tertiary institutions. The NLC president also reiterated its full solidarity with ASU, calling for robust participation from all union leaders. Meanwhile, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has flagged off the construction of new male and female hostels at the Nigeria Law School in Buari. The minister, while speaking at the flagging off ceremony, says that the project will tackle the shortage of students' accommodation and support the growth of legal education in the country. He says that each hostel will provide over 100 rooms to accommodate over 600 students in total, creating more space for new admissions.
He has had information through the Attorney General that the shortage of accommodation for students, and that is why the school is unable to accommodate the number that come out have been turned out for the various universities. And that promise he made was in December. Today we are here to fulfill that promise that Mr. President made. That shows that when you have good leadership, there's nothing difficult in achieving results.
Excellency, the scope of work for this project comprises of construction of 2 hostel blocks for student accommodation with several facilities. It's a 2 suspended floor hostel block with a total of 158 2-bedded and suite rooms to accommodate 2 students each. This will bring a total of 316 bed spaces per hostel. Combining both male and female will give about 632 students hostel.
The federal government has reaffirmed its dedication to enhancing the well-being and operational efficiency of personnel of the Nigerian Armed Forces through the provision of adequate welfare for troops. This was made known by the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, as he commissioned the newly constructed extension of the Niger Barracks in Abuja, including a link road to the Lungi Barracks. The defense chief says that the federal government is prioritizing efforts to improve the quality of life of officers in a bid to improve their operational effectiveness. He added that the project will enhance the living standards of personnel, improve their morale and their overall effectiveness during the discharge of their duties.
Those commissions represent a tangible expression of our collective effort to improve the living and working conditions of our personnel and their families. The link road and newly constructed buildings are designed not just for convenience, but as essential infrastructure that supports efficiency, safety, and comfort. Notably, the Niger Barracks Extension Block, which will accommodate policymakers in the defense headquarters, provides a atmosphere where they can have peace of mind to articulate valuable and forward-thinking policies.
The projects we are commissioning today are practical investments in morale, unit cohesion, and preparedness. By facilitating movement between key facilities and providing safe, dignified living spaces, we improve efficiency and strengthen the resolve of officers to give their best.
This phase comprises 8 blocks of semi-detached 3-bedroom duplexes, each with an attached boys' quarter, making a total of 16 units, as well as 15 units of 2-bedroom apartments housed in 2 blocks of high-rise buildings. Block A has 6 flats, 2 bedrooms each, and Block B has 9 flats. So in all, we have here a total of 31 apartments.
Madagascar's coup leader, Colonel Michael Randrianirina, has appointed a new prime minister. Randrianirina, who seized power this month after Gen Z-driven protests forced the former president out of the country and sworn in as president last week, says that he chose businessman Henrit Salama Rajaonarivelu as the new prime minister because of his experience and connections with the international organizations that work with the country. Meanwhile, former President Andre Rajoelina, whom lawmakers impeached for desertion of duty after he fled abroad last weekend, has condemned the army takeover and refused to step down while in exile. And that's how we step down the news for this hour. Don't forget to join us for a full news bulletin at 12 o'clock with Blessings Mosugu for the 12 report. In the meantime, the front pages of the newspapers is up next. Make sure you call in and we'd like to hear your reactions. Stay with us.
Hello, welcome back to Breakfast Central. It's time for us to look at the newspaper front pages, and join us today for newspaper analysis is a familiar face. He hasn't been here in quite some time.
In a long while.
We're happy to welcome him back, Professor Simeon Nna, our newspaper analyst for today. Thank you so much, Prof. It's good to see you. Looking very sharp, as always.
Good to have you, sir. Welcome back.
Pleasure.
Welcome back. Good to see you. So,
Okay.
I mean, yesterday was a very eventful day, and I'm sure all the newspapers have quite the same headline. Please don't also forget to call in and share your thoughts with us. We like to keep things interactive on this segment of the show. So let's start off with what paper are we starting?
Let's go with the Vanguard. I think the Vanguard is loaded.
Let's start with the Vanguard newspaper. Yes, the Vanguard newspaper, the headline there says, Nnamdi Kanu, Abuja grounded as security men tear gas at protesters. NLC gives 4 weeks to resolve education sector crisis. It's almost like a command, resolve this crisis in 4 weeks. We also have don't use coup plot to silence opposition. ADC warns federal government. And we have there, we're shielding no ally. EFCC recovered 500 billion naira in 2 years, says President Tinubu. Emami faults usage of Warri Kingdom by non-Ishakiri monarchs. We also have Nigeria's net domestic credit drops 12.8% to 98.97 trillion naira. I guess those are the major headlines we have. Unite to defeat the evil APC has become. Unite to defeat the evil the APC has become. Olawepo Hashim tells Nigerians. Prof, let's start with the protest yesterday. What do you make of the protest in Abuja and other parts of the country?
Well, I think the president and the people that are advising him should listen to the voice of reason. Telling us, I read the ex-handle of Bayo Onanuga, and he was saying they are taking extrajudicial means. He was talking of the matter being in court.
He also referred to Shore as an anarchist.
An anarchist. And he has forgotten, let me remind him, that he was publishing the broom outside this country during the time of Abacha. Having said that, let me equally remind the government that this man has been released by the court of first instance, the appellate court. His kidnapped in Kenya. The Kenyan government has equally apologized because the offense for which they even kidnapped in Kenya is not an offense in Kenya. They should equally know that I'm not a lawyer, but I've listened to grounded senior advocates that said that after the appeal court gave him that release and said he has no case to answer, even the Supreme Court cannot retry that case, but they're still retrying him. So what do they want? That's what some of us want to know. What do they actually want? The guy is saying he's sick, and the NMA have joined the Ferrero, saying that how can you test a man and the man does not know that he's being tested? Is it possible? All of us on this table now, can anybody, any doctor run a test on us without our knowing? I don't understand. I don't understand this country anymore. So please, let them listen to the voice of reason. This issue of sub judice is this and that. Which sub judice? Have they been obeying court laws? They have not. The man has been released. Let him go. You rearrested him for what? I don't understand. So if they can take a political way to resolve this matter, and let's forget this forth and back because it's leading us nowhere. They should imagine how much the country lost yesterday by shutting down the capital city of this country. It was completely shut down. People could not go to work. I watched this thing yesterday when
they said at the secretariat that they were throwing tear gas and the people were throwing tear gas back to them. You see, so what kind of country is this? I listened to the police PRO. You know what he said? He said they were arrested because they attempted to. Let him listen to himself. They have not gone there, they attempted to. That was his comment. Maybe we should begin to look at the meaning of attempt. Or are they going to change it like they change and? That and is no longer a conjunction. I don't understand this country any longer. Honestly, I don't. I don't.
Okay, does it make for an excuse that there was a court order that, you know, restrained them from protesting in certain parts of the Federal Capital Territory? So they were allowed to protest, but they said, you know, don't go to Eagle Square, don't go to Aso Villa, you know, like certain places really in Abuja. Does that count for something?
Did they go there? They didn't go there. Look, listen to the police PDRO now. He said they attempted to. He didn't say they went there. He said they were arrested. Listen to that speech again. He said they were arrested because they attempted to.
Well, because they had said that they would go regardless. Because he had said that they had
what Shora? Listen to Shora. He said the protest would go on regardless. He didn't say.
But even in places that were not in the court order, places like
now they went there to harass them.
For example,
what are we saying?
They were tear gassed in those places.
Okay,
and the PPRO was saying that that's the minimum force. That's a lie from a pit of hell. Right. We watch other countries use water to disperse these people. Not tear gas.
That's just another part to explore. To mention to our viewers that we're streaming live on YouTube. If you'd like to make a comment about this, please drop your comments via YouTube chat box. Let's take another paper. We'll still come back to talk more about the protest. Let's go to the Punch newspaper. On the front page of the Punch newspaper, the hashtag Free Nnamdi Kanu is the big story. Protest waves hits Abuja, paralyzes southeast states. Abuja protesters tear gassed, Villa fortified, federal workers barred, southeast locked down. And then you can see at the bottom of the paper, National Assembly mourns army commander and soldiers killed by Borno terrorists. Really, really sad story there. We can also see arraignment of Obi of Lagos and others stalled. Interesting. Obi of Lagos.
Yeah, you heard that story, right?
That
happened like 3 months ago.
Yeah. That's something to
a very funny story where they wanted to install an Obi of Lagos.
Yeah, just like going to say. I think we need to know how. Anyway, I'll come back to that. Oshinubi honored by family, the clergy, media giants at 70th birthday Thanksgiving. Labour gives federal government 4 weeks to end varsity crisis. Let us know what your thoughts are on any of these stories. And ADC warns against political witch hunt in coup probe.
Yeah, I think that's a big story. You know, a political witch hunt, because we hear that some people are on the watch list.
But the government has not even come out to acknowledge or issue a statement with regards to this alleged coup.
No, the government,
newspaper reports.
No. The defense headquarters came out to issue a report, and they said it wasn't a coup. They said they arrested 16 people because they failed promotion exams. That's the first time I'm hearing that somebody will fail exam and they arrest him for failing his own exam. You arrest him for what?
They were also from the career stagnation. Yes.
That there were some indiscipline or whatever. And they didn't tell us what that indiscipline is. So, you see, the answer to this question is blowing in the wind. Because you can't tell me that I will fail my own exam. You will arrest me for failing my exam. I think there's something they are not telling us. There's devil in the details of what they have said. Because it's an open thing. You know, somebody failed an exam. He used his money to pay for that exam. Why are you arresting him? So, you know, they are not telling the truth. They are speaking from both corners of the mouth. So for them to now say that some people are on the watch list, they are contradicting themselves. That's why I say they are speaking from both corners of the mouth.
So why do you think they're why do you think they're being circumspect in coming with the full details? Is it that some people might still be under investigation and they don't want to let the cat out of the bag?
It's possible. And you know, in diplomatic circles, you don't say it the way it is. You micromanage the truth. And I think that's what they are doing. They are micromanaging the truth. Because we'll all be here when some people will be court-martialed, and we will ask if you court-martial somebody for failing exams. We'll ask that question when the time comes.
There's a news item at the top of the newspaper there saying NLC gives Labour gives federal government 4 weeks to end varsity prices. As someone who's in the academia and understands how the workings of the Nigerian education system, would this work, this threat or this ultimatum that the Nigerian Labour Congress has given to the federal government, is it possible to end all the crisis in Nigerian universities in 4 weeks?
It is not possible to do it. I think NLC has become a toothless bulldog because this issue has been raging for a long time and they have kept quiet about it. Even when the Minister of Education was being economical with the truth, that they didn't sign any document. Maybe he forgot. And if you wanted to put it in perspective, because they have a way of saying they are quoted out of context. Now, if he had said this government did not sign any agreement with us, it would have been acceptable. But for him to say that government did not, when he knows that government is a continuum, I think that was the height of it all. There was an agreement signed in 2009. And since then, they've been dilly-dallying. Now, when some people don't know, in my place, they say, if you're not there when somebody is buried, if you're asked to assume, you start from the leg. That's what some people are doing. Because actually, that was an agreement signed. And since then, they've been dilly-dallying. The meeting will be called in 2019, 2021, and 2023 or thereabout. And agreements were reached. ASU will sign, government will say we will sign, and they did not sign. And that's what he's relying on. And that's why ASU is saying now, we are going to ensure that those agreements are not just signed, they are going to be implemented. Because tomorrow, another minister will come and say, we didn't assign any agreement. So this time around, that's why ASU is doing what they are doing. So people should understand from the standpoint that ASU is coming from. They are not saying that we must go on strike. No, they have their own children too in some of these universities. Because some of the lecturers cannot afford private universities. So they still have their children attending they are not politicians that can send their children abroad.
Very tough one. Let's look at another paper. I mean, the arraignment of Obi of Lagos, others stalled. I don't know if you want to talk on that. But there's a sad story here. National Assembly mourns army commander soldiers killed by Borno terrorists.
Yeah.
It seems like terrorism is raging head on.
People are being murdered every day. The other day, it was equally learned that some of them were ambushed, and some soldiers, I think some policemen or so, were equally killed.
But are these isolated incidents? Because Mr. President said we've turned the corner in dealing with terrorism and insecurity in Nigeria. So
they can always fight. They can always come to press and say whatever they like. But we know what is going on. We know what is going on. The ID camps are still there, and they are swelling every day. So what have you the last administration, we are just speaking grammar. We have decimated, we have conquered, we are using kinetic and not kinetic. All what they were just doing was speaking one grammar or the other. Today, it has come again. I think because it was on this set. I recall that day that they just finished talking and I came in on this set, that the army chief was saying that they don't have ammunition, that these guys have stronger weapons than them. And the same day, the governor of Borno cried out that government should help. So what have they done from that time till now? That they will tell you that they have decimated these people, they have conquered, they have this, they have that. I mean, we should stop all these rhetorics and get down to work. You see, we are losing people every day. Now, these are human beings, not numbers. The way they are talking about it is just like figures. The other time, I think one of them said it was just 5 people. 5 human beings, and I said just.
That have families.
Oh, come on.
Families.
Come on. We need to be more serious than this. Honestly, we need to.
All right. Let's go to another paper very quickly. I think we have our last paper to look into. The Guardian. The Guardian is the last paper we're going to look into now. the front page of the Guardian, hashtag free Nnamdi Kanu. Seems that Nnamdi Kanu is making the headlines everywhere. Every front page.
Yeah, it's the biggest story.
Yeah, it's like the biggest story so far. So
pick one paper, you read all.
I don't know. I don't know if this would look palatable to the federal government, because this is taking over some of the major jobs or stories that the federal government has been doing, especially from yesterday and today. Well, chaos as police disperse Abuja protesters. Southeast shuts down for Kanu. There were videos showing how the market, the popular market in the east, how they were telling everybody was shutting down, ensuring that they are joined and so on. Let me ask you this question before I proceed, still on the Nnamdi Kanu. What do you make of the Southeast state governors who have kept mum on this issue? Because the praises have gone to Showore, and many have said this is the end of ethnicity and leaning towards tribalism, because Showore is not from the Southeast, but he has decided to take up that mantle.
I think some of the leaders, let's put it in perspective, some of the governors in the Southeast are fueling the crisis in the Southeast. I won't mind words about it.
Why do you say so?
Why I said so was that it was after the governor of Imo, the current governor of Imo,
Hope
Uzodimma, said what he said, that the military went to destroy the home of Nnamdi Kanu, killed about 20 people, and he ran away. That was, they now started saying that he jumped bail. Thank God Supreme Court came in and said he didn't jump bail. He ran away because they wanted to murder him in cool blood. That day, about 20 people were murdered in cool blood for nothing. And these were people that were carrying flags. Recall that IPOB had never carried gun until after that incident. It was after that incident that they formed the ECN to defend themselves.
Yes,
so, yes and yes. I don't understand why they are doing that. See, let me tell you some of the things that people don't know. When they say Southeast leaders, some of the leaders have been trying. The late Wanyanwu died as a result of Nnamdi Kanu. I can tell you that story.
But the sitting governors being politically correct.
Yes, you know, that
maybe
was
they might want it, but they can't express themselves because of the retribution they might get.
They are aligning them. See, you know how Hope Uzodimma came in.
So they might not even want it.
In an election, he did not win that election. I can say that anywhere, any day, any time. He did not win that election. He came fourth in that election, and he was brought in because of compromises and agreements as also rock. He was now brought in to be the governor of that state. And I don't want to go into other details, you know. So at the end of the day, they are the people that are making this look as if the leaders in the Southeast are not wanting Nnamdi Kanu to come out.
If you could propose a political solution to these problems, what will it be? Because billions of naira being lost every Monday with a sit-at-home order. Nobody wants to live in an environment of palpable fear. You have this has been dragging on for too long. What sort of solution?
Nnamdi Kanu, through his lawyer, had said that that sit-at-home should stop because it was not him that actually instituted that sit-at-home. It was Simon Ekpa. So he said, even before Simon Ekpa was arrested, there was a broadcast through his lawyers that that sit-at-home should stop because billions and millions and trillions of naira is being lost in the Southeast every day. And if the government understands that, they should have freed Nnamdi Kanu because all they're asking for is free this guy. It's not as if the court have not said he has no case to answer. When a court says you are discharged and acquitted, that word has no two meanings in the dictionary. So I don't know how somebody that was discharged and acquitted by the court of first instance, and like I said, senior advocate, grounded senior advocate said for such matters, once the appellate court decrees or says such judgment, that the Supreme Court cannot even attempt the matter again. But what they did was rearrange him and brought other frivolous charges against him. Now they have concluded their matter. The case is in court according to them. Now they want the other party to come and give their, okay. These guys were going yesterday, one of the lawyers of Nnamdi Kanu and the brother, to go and submit their response in court. And they were arrested. And they said, look, we are going to court. They brought those documents, they collected it from them. So what do they want? You see, I don't understand the level of literacy of our policemen. Do you know an international journalist was picked up yesterday?
Yes.
The guy was shouting, I'm a journalist. I'm a journalist. If they cannot see the AFP on his camera, they should have at least in Senate clan asked for his ID. But they didn't do that. They arrested him and took him to...
And his camera was damaged.
And his camera was damaged.
To clarify, I'm not certain that there was a complete discharge and acquittal of Nnamdi Kanu. I'll say that because what I do know, is a discharge in terms of them stating that his extraordinary rendition was not legal, and that he shouldn't have been brought back that way. I don't think he was speaking to the merit of the case, the terrorism charges leveled against him, but that there was an extraordinary rendition. Meaning, they could...
The way he was abducted from Kenya to Nigeria, yes.
Okay.
Right.
Assuming without conceding that is the situation, why did they not release him?
Anyway.
That one is left for... So, I mean, we talked about the attack on the press. News Central was also... We also had our team in Abuja attacked as well. The boss, the driver, the camera operator, and now the police is saying that they are investigating and they would swing into action and find those police officers who attacked the News Central.
I blame. That's the. I blame you guys. I blame you guys at times. When I mean you guys, I don't mean News Central. I mean the journalists. Now this is a matter that whatever damage must be paid for instantly. Maybe by the time you people start calling for some of these things, they will stop harassing the press. The press is there to do their job. Even in wars, international press are allowed
do you think the security officers and the police they are sensitized enough?
You mentioned something about the level of literacy
of these people.
Security operators. Is it time that we make the base level entry a minimum of OND or university degree?
Or university degree or AC. You don't just go and bring people ordinarily that were touts and they employ them as police officers. It has happened before. We know it. We know it. So why would you now bring somebody, a miscreant, and give that person a gun? What do you achieve?
Whether that will be investigated is another issue, No,
it will not be investigated if you will keep quiet, because that's the bane of this society. Because people just keep quiet, and say it's one of those things. No, it's not one of those things.
Exactly.
It's not.
It leads to a culture of impunity.
Of course.
Okay. Olive?
Okay. So just to quickly give so I can speak to the Obi of Lagos, the arraignment of the Obi of Lagos, the details of the story. The Punch reports that the arraignment of the self-acclaimed Obi of Lagos, Chibuike Azubike, and 3 others before the State High Court sitting at the Tafawa Balewa Square over alleged unlawful assembly was on Monday stalled due to the absence of the 4th defendant. Obi Azubike, alongside Chief Martins Nwaudika, Chibuzo Ani, and Dr. Sunday Ude, was charged before Justice Abdulrahim Muhyiddin by the Lagos State government. They're facing 3 counts bordering on conspiracy, unlawful assembly, and creation of a chieftaincy title preferred against them by the Lagos State government. The defendants were accused of conspiring amongst themselves to commit the offenses, and the incident happened sometime between August 2025 and September 13, 2025 at the Ikotun area of the state. So they're accused of unlawfully creating a chieftaincy title, Obindi Igbo Lagos State, and Dike Ohandi Igbo Lagos State, without lawful authority.
Now, let me ask one question. Is it only the Igbos that have people that are organizing their community in their area? We have the Sariki of the north in my area. The guy that was a megad to the next compound to my house was a Sariki of these people. And he was installed. He does not in any way, have anything to do with the traditional stool of Lagos State. I mean, this issue of harassing the Igbos must stop. Look at what they did in Festac Town. What do you call it?
Trade fair.
And the commissioner was speaking in tongues. That place, That's not the first time, that's not the second time, this is about the third time that federal government has said, this is federal land. You don't have rights here. They didn't look at the properties they destroyed. They should get ready because they're going to pay for those properties they destroyed. Because they don't have, I listened to Victor in one of the papers. He's a chartered estate surveyor. He said he went there was no infraction, and all the things they are supposed to pay for, they paid to federal authority that owns the place. So why this harassment?
If in Anambra State, and I'm totally against the harassment of even Igbo, I'm against any form of harassment anywhere. But if in Anambra State, for example, or in Enugu State, we saw them install an Oba of Awon Yoruba in Anambra State or in Enugu State, will that...
They do that. Ask questions. They do that. No, these things were done before now. It's just that now they want to go out against the Igbos. It's been there all along. Let me give you one instance. I was the DG of Ladipo Johnson in 2019. I was DG in the governorship election. He was given a chief secretary title by an Igbo man in a Koto. So those titles have been there. It's just because Lagos State government now want to go against the Igbos. So they're using every frivolous attempt to keep that Igbos. It's very, very wrong. It's been there.
Do you think it's political?
The case that you, sorry to interrupt, the case you mentioned, it was the Igbo people that were conferring the title on the Yoruba man. It wasn't the Yoruba persons now deciding to give themselves an Igbo chieftaincy title. I don't know if you understand what I'm talking about.
No. What I'm saying is that guy is a chief is a traditional ruler in Lagos. In Lagos, it's not conferred. That honor was not conferred to him by Lagos State government. It was conferred to him by the Igbos in the community.
And it's a Yoruba man that they conferred the title on.
Yeah, he conferred title to so many people, including a Yoruba man. I just mentioned that one because that was the person. In fact, that day he wanted to confer me a traditional title. I said, no, that's a demotion for me. I'm a prince of God, so I can't take a chieftaincy title from a lower.
I don't know if you see what I'm saying, in the sense that it was the Igbo people that were giving that title, and then they gave this person. It's a different case where these people come together.
I said this man was installed as a traditional ruler.
The government will argue that they have a Ministry of Chieftaincy Affairs, and by law, it's only the government that is allowed to give instrument of office, staff of office, and recognize chieftaincy titles. Anything outside the ambit of the law is illegal.
Very seconds.
Well, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't want to go to the nitty-gritty of that law. But what I'm trying to say is that it has been there. They have been doing it. It didn't just start this year. They have been doing it. And Lagos State have not been frowning at it because they have not been infringing on any known law of the land. That's why they have been allowing it.
2023 elections.
Yes, that is it.
We will come back to touch on this matter. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to our virtual audience. We'll be back again tomorrow. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day. Jasiri comes up next. Bye-bye.